المبعوث رحمة للعالمين بعثه الله شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First and foremost, I just want to thank the administration of the masjid, our brother Abdul Fattah, who's doing an amazing, immense work in bringing the community together, setting up programs for the youth, and likewise for those who are older. May Allah Azza wa Jal increase him in goodness. Ameen. Secondly, my brothers and my sisters, for those who don't know, this is actually a lesson. If you came to hear a lecture pertaining to the topic of heart softeners, or not to stab people up, as I did last time round, then this is the wrong program to be attending. I give lectures a lot, and I have my reasons for it. I came to the conclusion that the majority of Muslims today who live in the West, number one, they are not students of knowledge. Number two, they're not ideological, right? And number three, my brothers and my sisters, many people think that seeking knowledge is like taking a career path in engineering or medicine. You know how you start studying engineering, right? And this is a career path which eventually gets you work, right? You start working, you make money, and so on and so forth. Many people think that seeking knowledge is a career path as well. Just as you would go and study civil engineering or mechanical engineering or medicine and whatever have you. But the reality of the matter, that's not like that, my brothers and my sisters. Even if you are the most qualified doctor today, here in the UK, you are still in need of this knowledge that is going to help you maneuver and navigate around fitna to shubuhat and fitna to shahawat. The fitna of doubts and the fitna of temptations. We can't expect to function in this world today without beneficial knowledge. Otherwise, you will be no different to all of these individuals who message me on a day-to-day basis. Some of them are multi-millionaires. Some of them are professionals, like doctors, engineers. Even though they have the dunya, but they are spiritually dead and empty. And it's times like this, my brothers and my sisters, that I really begin to appreciate knowledge. Right? With the little that we have, it helps us navigate around the challenges that we face in the wild, wild west. Yes, that's exactly what it is. The wild, wild west. Right? A lot of these temptations that we see ourselves falling into, brothers and sisters, the bottom line to that is lack of knowledge. It's the why we see ourselves not being able to fortify or to protect ourselves from these trials and tribulations or the doubts that come our way when we are at university or at school. In the month of Ramadan, I was sitting with one of my best friends in his house. And he said to me that his 6-year-old son came home from RE class and said, "Dad, today in RE I learned that there are many gods. There's a Hindu God, the Sikh, Christian God. There's many gods, Dad. Which God should we go and worship?" My friend goes, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." He grabbed his head. Doubts. If this father now doesn't know how to repel these doubts that this young child has been polluted with, from this very young age, these doubts settle. Likewise, I visited one of my friends in the month of Ramadan again, and his mother was there. She walked in and she said, "Muhammad, today I am angry with Allah. Wallahi alladhi la ilaha ghayruh." This auntie, who from the apparent is pretty righteous, she said, "I am angry with Allah. And because of that, I am not fasting today." She wasn't fasting in the month of Ramadan. On that day when I visited the house, she wasn't fasting. Likewise, she didn't want to pray. Why? Because I'm angry with Allah Azza wa Jal. Why are you angry? I pray to Allah, I fast, I do all of these righteous deeds, but still Allah makes me go through all of these troubles and hardships. Bearing in mind, guys, that I'm sitting in a mansion. I don't think I've ever been to a house as big as that in Leicester. I started counting all of her blessings for her. And how you have to expect to go through these trials and tribulations. Shahid, I'm going off on a little tangent here. Like I said to you, brothers and sisters, the reason why I give lectures around the country and I do these tours going from one side of the country to the other. Number one, I came to realize that the majority of Muslims today, they're not students of knowledge. Number two, they're not ideological. And number three, many don't even realize that they have to seek knowledge. They don't know that they have to actually seek knowledge. They think that seeking knowledge is like what? Pursuing a career in engineering. So we have to go to these people, inform them about why we need to seek knowledge. Why we need to build on our aqidah, on our belief. I didn't pick this treatise for no reason, guys. It's a treatise on monotheism and some very important foundations of our religion that has been extrapolated from the Quran. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Right? Many don't know. Many don't realize. So we have to go out to them. Just like I did, I believe it was before the month of Ramadan, sah? I came here. And for the first half an hour speaking about brothers and sisters coming to Taraweeh, right, wanting to beat each other up. Our brothers coming to the masjid with knives. And we talked a little bit about the importance of knowledge as well. And we went through the ahkam of fasting. Sahih? So the second time round when I come here, my brothers and my sisters, we're not going to go through a heart softener. It's time to get serious. You want a lot of these topics, which makes you feel good? Inshallah, this is going to make you feel good as well. We can find them online. Right? Your iman goes up and down. From the belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that your iman fluctuates. It goes up and it goes down. Why is it that, my brothers and my sisters, sometimes we go to this inspirational lecture, right? That's so iman boosting. We feel so great. Oh, that was a wicked lecture. As soon as you walk out, a couple of days go by, you're back to square one again. Your iman's gone down. I'll tell you guys why. Right? The reason why iman goes down is because we are not seeking knowledge regularly. That iman will remain steady, my brothers and my sisters, when you seek knowledge constantly, right? Consistently. Where you learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you learn about Allah Azza wa Jal, the more conscious you become of Allah Jalla fi'ala. Is that clear? One of the very common questions that I receive all the time is somebody saying, brother, why is it that when the sin presents itself, I fall into it straight away? I can't control myself. But there is maybe my friend Muhammad or Abu Bakr who are a bit more practicing than me, a bit more righteous, right? They tend to control themselves, right, in front of the sin. There's something that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about himself. Inni akhshakum wa atqakum billah. I'm the one who's most pious and most fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compared to the rest of you guys. You're speaking to his companions. What does that show us? The more you pick up piety, the more you will be in awe and fearful of Allah Jalla fi'ula. And that is done with you increasing on your knowledge. Right? You've got more knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll be more respectful. I'll give you guys an example. And people say this all the time, right? Why is it that I don't feel that connection with Allah? I don't feel like I love Him. That connection's not there. We're discussing the same point here. Right? Or I fall into the sin straight away. I'll give you guys an example. Why do we respect our CEOs at our workplaces? Does anyone know? Why? Why do you respect him? Huh?
They
Said they've hired you and they have the right to fire you, so you have to respect them. Would you also agree, my brothers and my sisters, that you respect his expertise, you respect his experience, you respect his status inside of this workplace? Right? The reason why you respect him is because you've come to know about all of these things about him. At times also, my brothers and my sisters, give you guys this example. Put your hand up if you're pursuing a sister to get married. That should be everyone. Let me ask you a question. Why are you going after the sister? No, but why her specifically? He said it's half my deen, but why her specifically? He said he likes her. Oh. He said he fell for her, but what made you fall for her? He said beauty. Huh? Skin. What if she loses her beauty tomorrow? Huh? What else? Her beauty. Some of the qualities that you came to know that she possesses, right? He said righteousness. Naam. You came to know that, mashallah, tabarakallah, she has this trait and she has that quality. She has these characteristics, which caused you to be inclined towards her. Not that I'm trying to compare Allah Azza wa Jal to the CEO or to Princess Charming. No, not at all, guys. But my point that I'm trying to drive home here, brothers and sisters, is the more you learn about something, the more you begin to respect it, or the more you tend to be inclined towards it. Agreed? This neighbor that you have that you see walking past you every other day, just see him as a random Joe. Sahih. But one night, you're walking home, and before you enter into your house, you can hear him reading Quran in the last third of the night. Will you ever treat him the same? From that point on, abadan. Because you came to know about him, to be a righteous individual. The man's praying in the night, brothers and sisters. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my brothers and my sisters. Right? وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. The more we learn about Allah Azza wa Jal, the more we seek knowledge. And the beneficial knowledge is the knowledge that gets us closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, that has an impact on us. And that will only happen the more we increase in knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only source of information that we have of Allah Jalla fi'ala is what? His names and attributes, right? Where you come to know about Allah Azza wa Jal's mightiness, right? The greatness of Allah Jalla fi'ala. The more you will think about that sin that you will be carrying out. Not twice, but you think thrice. When you look at his name, Al-Raqib, Al-Muntaqim, Al-Razaq, Al-Hakim. Right? Wallahi al-Azim, my brothers and my sisters, it will change your life for the better. Does that make sense? So the plan for today, my brothers and my sisters, is that inshallah ta'ala we hope to be here till 8 o'clock. We want to finish this treatise in the next hour and 40 minutes. Inshallah ta'ala it's possible. It's not a lecture, right? It's a lesson. I'm hoping inshallah ta'ala you guys have your pens and your papers. Right? Or if you don't have your pens and your papers, then use your gadgets to take down notes. Okay. Earlier when I was with some of the brothers, may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward them, they were talking about how he's going to take down notes on his iPad. Right? And then I mentioned a line of poetry to them, which has been uttered many, many centuries ago. لا بد للطالب من كناش يكتب فيه راكبا أو ماشيا. It's a must that the student, he carries with him scrap paper. He writes when he rides, and he writes when he writes when he walks. However, because we're in the 21st century, and the brother, he was holding an iPad, I told them I had to change up this line of poetry a little bit. So the poet, he said, well, not the poet, I said, لا بد للطالب من أيباد It's a freshy way of saying iPad. لا بد للطالب من iPad instead of كناش يكتب فيه راكبا أو ماشٍ. Right? These phones are a ni'mah. It's a double-edged sword. Right? It's been a life changer for me. Until not so long ago, I used to make dua for Steve Jobs. Who's Steve Jobs? The Apple founder. And then one day when I was giving a class, a brother put his hand on me and goes, Ustad, just to let you know, Steve Jobs is dead. Are you allowed to make dua for someone who's dead? When did he pass away? Many years ago. So I was making dua for this non-Muslim, right? All the way up until recently, not realizing that he was dead. But why was I making dua for him? Because he invented notes on the iPad. All of my khutab, all of my lectures, all of my lessons, my explanations of books is all on what? On the notes. Even now the Usool of Sitta that I'm teaching, I've written a whole explanation on there. Right? And whenever I need a faida, I just put it in there. I put it in the search, and then it pops up. It helps me a lot when I'm jumping from one place to another to give these programs and these lectures. Utilize it, my brothers and my sisters. 10 years down the line, with iCloud, even if you lose your phone, you can what? Retrieve your benefits. You have a wife, you have a child that you want to convey a message to, and you can't remember what that ustad or what that sheikh said in that lecture or in that sermon. You can what? Quickly bring it out. Does that make sense? Also put your phones on airplane mode, guys. We don't want you checking the game. Don't know, Chelsea. They're West London, right? Let's get straight into it now, inshallah ta'ala. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين بعثه الله شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من أعجب العجاب وأكبر الآيات الدالة على قدرة الملك الغلاب 6 أصول بينها الله تعالى بيانا واضحا للعوام فوق ما يظن الظانون ثم بعد هذا غلط فيها كثير من أذكياء العالم وعقلاء بني آدم إلا أقل القليل. In the introduction, the author, Shaykh Muhammad, may Allah Azza wa Jalla have mercy upon him, he says, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, the bestower of mercy. And just to put it out there, my brothers and my sisters, this is not going to be a detailed explanation. It's more closer to being a ta'liq, just a very brief commentary. Right? Because of the time restrictions, and because we want to, inshallah ta'ala, get through as much as we can in this short period that we have. He says, from the most amazing affairs and the greatest signs that demonstrate the ability of Al-Malik, the sovereign owner, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Al-Ghallab, the victorious. Al-Ghallab هو الذي إذا أراد شيئا لا يرد ولا يمانع. He who, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wishes for something to happen, nothing can stop it. So the Shaykh, he uses his name now to, right, to describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, there are 6 principles that Allah Azza wa Jal, the Most High, has clearly explained for the common people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly explained this and made it very, very manifest and evident. Right? It is clear as daylight in the Quran. And this is what we're going to go through. Right? Even though He's made it so clear and evident, transparent, right? Here the Shaykh says He did this in a manner above and beyond the thinking of those who doubt. Despite this, many of today's intellectuals, brainiacs of this world, from the children of Adam, from Bani Adam, they erred with regards to them except a very few of those who have walked on the face of this earth. Right? In a nutshell, what the Shaykh is trying to say, my brothers and my sisters, these 6 foundations that we're going to be taking that are mentioned in the Quran so clearly that just about anyone can understand. Ammatun nas, the commoner. You don't have to be a student of knowledge or a scholar to understand these 6 great foundations that Allah Azza wa Jalla has made so manifest. Having said that, and despite all of that, the brainiacs, the intellectuals, those who we would admire and be amazed with because of maybe that which they have invented, he's saying they struggle to understand it and they erred in it. So quickly here, my brothers and my sisters, I want to mention some reasons as to why an individual may deviate away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? If you don't take anything away from this book other than these 10, inshallah ta'ala, it's an accomplishment. Why is it that we see, subhanallah, a brother who's practicing, then all of a sudden he just falls off? Right? This is what we want to discuss. Or an individual who we thought was from the most righteous of people is now apostating from the deen. Not just falling off the religion, but he actually shoots out of the religion. Right? Doesn't that happen? I'm sure everyone here either knows someone who has apostated or knows someone who knows another that has apostated, renegated from the religion. Agreed? Am I wrong to say that? Especially in today's day and age? With the widespread of filth and evil, all of these different isms, feminism, liberalism, secularism, right? Orientalists are going around learning our religion so they can target vulnerable Muslims, right? And of course, you have the rainbow team that's extremely active. And you got the likes of the First Minister, right? That's what they call him, Sah, in Scotland, coming out saying that homosexuality is not a sin. His name is what? Humza Yusuf. Right? He's meant to be a Muslim leader. While you had his counterpart, the one that was competing with him, a Catholic, I believe she was, Orthodox Christian, that was holding on to her morals and values, refused to side with homosexuals. You got a non-Muslim that's holding on to her values and her morals, my brothers and my sisters. But then someone who claims to be a Muslim is saying otherwise. Someone listens to this, picks it up, thinks, oh, if this brown Muslim leader is maybe what? Encouraging such act, then it must be right, sah. Doesn't have the knowledge. Someone as intellectual as him is failing to understand basic aspects of the religion. That's an example for you. That is an example of what the Shaykh is saying. There are things that are so clear in the Quran. Does anyone here doubt what Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned about the people of Lut? Does anyone have any doubt what they practiced and what he shunned? Lut alayhi salatu wasalam. By the way, just in case we have channel 4 here, yeah? I'm not here to express my own views and opinions. Abu Taymiyyah doesn't have any views. He just quotes. I'm just quoting the scripture, telling you guys what that minister said and what his counterpart said. I have no views and no opinions. I shouldn't have anyway. I'm just here to connect you guys to the Quran and Sunnah, right? That's the job of a student of knowledge and a sheikh and an alim. For him to connect you with what Allah said and what the Messenger ﷺ said. We don't have views, and just in case channel 4 wants to cut that out, right? Are you brothers and sisters with me? Something that is so clear in the Quran, but you got the Prime Minister, it's not a sin. Right? Clearly and explicitly says this. Openly, without hesitation. 10, my brothers and my sisters, which are from the causes of one deviating away from the Quran and the Sunnah, deviating away from his religion. Number 1, ittiba'ul hawa, following your whims and your desires. وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَى فَيُضِلَّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, quoted Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَجِيبُوا لَكَ فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّمَا يَتَّبِعُونَ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ. O Messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, if they don't respond to the call, if they don't respond to your invitation to al-Islam, then know they are following the desires, because what you are coming with is crystal clear. And then Allah says, وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنِ اتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ بِغَيْرِ هُدًى مِّنَ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Who is more misguided than the one, right, who follows his desires? Right? You clearly know it's wrong. You clearly know Allah Azza wa Jalla is displeased with that. Right? And what? Some even try to justify it, right? Just so he can make himself feel better about the sin that he's carrying out. You clearly know it's wrong. It's one thing doing the sin, right, because you're falling short and you're negligent, right? And it's another following your desire, and even what, trying to justify it. Number two, my brothers and my sisters, al-kibr, arrogance. I'm hoping you brothers at the back are writing down, unless you're like Imam al-Bukhari or Imam al-Shafi'i or Imam Abu Hanifa. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, and there'll be breaks in between inshallah ta'ala as well, okay? I know you guys are Gen Z. Huh? Your attention span is 30 seconds at times, and sometimes 5 minutes. Huh? There'll be breaks inshallah. Allah says in the Quran, سَأَصْرِفُ عَنْ آيَاتِيَ الَّذِينَ يَتَكَبَّرُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ وَإِنْ يَرَوْا كُلَّ آيَةٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَا. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, those who have been arrogant, right, will have the verses, the ayat, moved away from them. Right? وَإِنْ يَرَوْا كُلَّ آيَةٍ. If they were to see all of the verses, all of the signs, they still wouldn't believe in it. And that is because, my brothers and my sisters, due to the arrogance, right? وَإِنْ يَرَوْا سَبِيلَ الرُّشْدِ لَا يَتَّخِذُوا سَبِيلًا. They see guidance right in front of them, so clear, but they still won't take it. Arrogance has caused their hearts to be sealed. There are some scenarios that fall under this, my brothers and my sisters. One of them is giving priority to your intellect over the text, over that which Allah has told you, over that which the Messenger ﷺ has told you. You become so deluded and deceived with how smart and intelligent you are, right? He just rejects the truth. Doesn't fall in line with my wonderful intellect that is so sharp. His heart is sealed. And we've seen enough intellectuals like that, right? Especially in universities, academics. Because it doesn't fall in line with his intellect, he rejects it. Right? And he even started creeping into Muslims. I've said this many, many times. I'll say again, brothers and sisters. Would everyone here agree that what you can see is limited? This is what I always say to the atheists, right? Would you guys agree that your sight and what you can see is limited? Can anyone see what's happening in Southall Broadway? Tell me, maybe you do have the ability to see that which is happening in Southall Broadway. Can anyone see? Forget about what's happening in Southall Broadway. Can anyone see what's happening in the car park from where you are? Unless you're standing next to the window. طيب, can anyone hear that which is happening outside? You can't. You've accepted that your eyes are limited, your ears are limited, and that which you can smell is limited. Why do you fail to accept that your intellect is limited as well? And that you won't be able to encompass everything? Have you guys heard of pork and bacon? Huh? Alcohol, you guys heard of it? What's the ruling of alcohol and bacon? Haram. Are they the only ones that know? Why didn't the rest of the... Huh? It's haram. معلوم من الدين بالضرورة, right? It's known in the religion by necessity. When did Allah Azza wa Jalla tell us that this is haram? Huh? 1400 years ago. Over 1400 years ago when Allah Azza wa Jalla sent it down in the Quran. Sahih? Sahih? يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام. Right? رجس من عمل الشيطان. إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير. All these things are haram clearly in the Quran. You will see some turning around saying, Akhi, but why though? Why is it haram? Or why should we do this? Why should we do that? أليس كذلك? Isn't that so? Isn't what we hear people saying, right? Or what does the Sharia say about this? Right? Or what does Islam say about this? We hear this so much. What does Islam say about this? What does Islam say about that? As if now Islam has become a human being. Instead of asking, what does Allah, can you see how the dynamics change now? When you ask me, what does Islam say? Ask me, what does Allah say? The Almighty Creator about this particular matter. And that's what should concern us. But Islam has been turned into a human being. Someone that, brings about its own views and whatever have you, like anyone else. La. Right? I came across an article. This is maybe recently, right? It was on the Daily Mirror. Some of you guys may have seen it. And also on the Telegraph, I believe. You know what the title was? No amount of alcohol, sausage or bacon is safe according to cancer experts. الآن وقد عصيت قبل وكنت من المفسدين. Now you're going to believe in Islam, or now you're going to believe in what Allah Azza wa Jalla said. Why didn't you just believe in that which Allah Azza wa Jalla sent down in the Quran the moment it reached you? Why do we need some non-Muslim to come along and tell us that bacon is problematic for you? Or you begin to feel as if you're being deprived. Sometimes we feel like that. Why is Islam so rough and tough? It's depriving us from enjoying ourselves on Friday night and on Saturday night. All these non-Muslims seem like they're enjoying themselves. Well, that's what you think. Till I start receiving these Instagram messages of people so depressed and empty, spiritually dead, even though they're living the life. Well, that's what you thought, Sahih? Allah Azza wa Jalla has made it very clear. He has told us that which is haram and that which is halal. Right? I normally say this to the atheists, right? Because even amongst the atheists, they differ as to what is morally acceptable and morally correct. This is again one of the biggest issues that you'll find in universities. Why? Well, you have to be a critical thinker. Everything that is posed to you, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, for those who go to university, especially those who are in philosophy class, what they glorify is critical thinking. Sahih? I see a lot of heads nodding. Naam. Critical thinking. Whenever an argument is posed, you need to find a way to argue back. Sahih? And you get marks for it. This critical thinking is glorified so much that now Al-Islam and its concepts are posed to you. It doesn't make sense. You need to ask why. What's the reason behind? What's the wisdom behind it? There are times when we are told the reason as to why you should do it, and there are times when we aren't. We haven't been told. Are you not going to act upon it because you don't know the reason or the wisdom behind it? طيب, let me ask you guys a question. Cannibalism. What does cannibalism mean? Sorry, I'm going on a bit on a tangent, but I think it's important. Eating the people, say? Eating the people. What do you guys think of that? Is that morally correct? Why not? In some places and localities around the world, this is still perfectly legal and fine. Did you guys know that? Cannibalism is perfectly fine in some places around the world. They're smoking weed. Is it good or bad? Did you know once upon a time that this was illegal across America, but now some states have started legalizing it? Likewise, homosexuality. Again, I'm just quoting. In America, in the UK, it was a big issue. Maybe 50 years ago, they'll hang you. But now as times change, forget about this guy being prosecuted, akhi. Right? You're seen as abnormal if you think otherwise. Or you think that there's something problematic with it, right? When you speak to these atheists, themselves, right? Amongst themselves, they disagree as to what is morally acceptable and what is morally unacceptable. They differ amongst themselves as to what we should do and what we should stay away from. This guy doesn't believe in a God. He doesn't believe in a system. So my question to him is, okay, what determines what is right and acceptable and what is wrong and unacceptable? They'll start coming with these weird theories and whatever have you. Go to another atheist, completely different, right? You go across the world, cannibalism is perfectly fine. Eating people, great. When you have a conflict of views like I just mentioned, there will be fawda. There will be chaos. As you see happening right before your eyes now. Right? Where some people think it's perfectly fine to do this, others think, no, we shouldn't. That leaves us, my brothers and my sisters, right, with only one solution, and that is to accept that there is an external entity, and that is of course God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who governs us, tells us what to do and tells us what to stay away from. Otherwise there will be chaos, because everyone wants to be godly. Everyone wants to lay down the law. Everyone wants to legislate whatever they want. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? Right? Now this bacon, all of a sudden now it's haram in the eyes of the non-Muslims because it's harmful. Right? Now, only brothers and sisters, Allah told us 1400 years ago, and we accept it because He's our God, He's our Ilah. He is the Almighty Creator who knows about everything in this cosmos because He's the creator for it. Just like somebody now who invents a new phone. He knows more about this phone than anyone else, sahih? Allah has already created everything. He's more knowing of what is good for us and what is bad for us. So why should you be arrogant or try to use your intellect over that which Allah has already told you? Number 3, my brothers and my sisters, عدم المبادرة إلى امتثال أمر الله. Not hastening to carrying out the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says something, no ifs and no buts, you rush to implementing that. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in the Quran, رضوا بأن يكونوا مع الخوالف وطبع الله أو وطبع على قلوبهم فهم لا يفقهون. There's 2 verses, right? رضوا بأن يكونوا مع الخوالف وطبع على قلوبهم, right? فهم لا يفقهون. Allah Azza wa Jalla speaks about the hypocrites in Surah At-Tawbah. They chose to be from amongst those who didn't go out for jihad. So what did Allah Azza wa Jalla do? He sealed their hearts. He sealed their hearts. Right? And by the way, again, because I said jihad, it's a bit of a scary word, right? Again, just in case we have Channel 4, want to make me look like as if I'm recruiting for people to go ISIS. Jihad is part of our religion. I'm not going to be apologetic about it. I am unapologetically Muslim. And it's part of our religion. However, jihad, my brothers and my sisters, has rules and regulations, agreed? It's part of our deen. Right? So when they were instructed to go out, they stayed behind and they made excuses. They didn't rush to fulfilling the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Allah sealed their hearts. Number 4, my brothers and my sisters, al-dhulm, oppression. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin, as Allah says. Allah does not guide those who oppress. Number 5, mahabbatul baqa'i ala al-jahl. Preferring to remain upon ignorance. preferring to remain jahil. Right? Allah tells us about the people of Thamud. وَأَمَّا الثَّمُودُ فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ فَاسْتَحَبُّوا الْعَمَى عَلَى الْهُدَى. Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us about Thamud. We showed them guidance and they preferred being blind over taking the guidance. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them. فَأَخَذَتْهُمْ صَاعِقَةُ الْعَذَابِ الْهُونِ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Number 6, my brothers and my sisters, تزيين الشيطان, the shaitan beautifying. The shaitan beautifying. وزين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم فصدهم عن السبيل وكانوا مستبصرين. Allah tells us the shaitan, right, he beautified their actions for them and he blocked them away from the right path. Someone may say though, this is not something in my control, the shaitan now, right, blocking my path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's too strong, he's too lethal, I can't help it. It's upon us, my brothers and my sisters, after Allah Azza wa Jalla told us that the shaitan is a adu, فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًا, he's your enemy, take him as an enemy. How do you take him as an enemy? You learn about the tricks and the traps of the devil, so you don't fall into his trap. It's as simple as that. There's a way that the shaitan operates, and one of these ways, my brothers and my sisters, is that he's not going to say to you, this is haram, go do it. He's going to try and beautify it for you, just as he beautified it for our parents Adam and Eve. Not Adam and Steve, guys. Adam and Eve. He beautified, right? وَقَاسَمَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. He took a qasam, he took an oath. I am indeed a sincere advisor to you. Eat from the tree and you will be from the Khalideen. That's exactly what they done, even though Allah told them not to do so. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? Right? He will beautify it for you. And at times, from the tricks and the traps of the shaitan, is that tasmiyat, that which is haram is changed. Yani its name is changed to that which is halal. For example, I'm sure you guys heard of this before. There was once upon a time where we had something called halal hip hop. Do you guys remember? Halal hip hop by a certain squad, no names. They were together and then what? They fell out and now they're trying to get back together again. Guys, no names, no names. Calm down, guys. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Halal hip hop, huh? It's an oxymoron. How does that even make sense? Halal and hip hop. Even certain types of drinks, right, that are haram are given halal names, right? Likewise, you find certain drugs, their names are changed, like ice. They call it ice. That which is going to absolutely destroy your intellect. And even a zina now has this different lie, completely forgot it. In the Arab world, they call it ishq, yeah, just love. Huh? Ibn al-Jawzi rahmatullahi alayhi says, الباب الأعظم الذي يدخل منه إبليس على الناس هو الجهل. The greatest door that the shaitan or the Iblis enters from, right, is the door of ignorance. فهو يدخل منه على الجاهل بأمان وأما العالم فلا يدخل عليه إلا مسارقة. Right? He gets through to the ignorant very, very easily. And if you're ignorant, you don't know the tricks and the traps of the devil, he'll get to you very, very quickly. As for the one who is more knowledgeable, right, or the alim, the scholar, he'll only be able to what? Get to him like a thief. You know, a thief, a pickpocket. That's what they call him, right? Pickpocket, sah? How does he approach you? Is he going to show you, look, I'm going to come and steal from you? No. He tries to slip through and then what? Pulls it out. Here he draws this comparison with the Iblis. The more knowledge you have, my brothers and my sisters, the less likely that the shaitan will be able to trap you. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? Wallahi, brothers and sisters, the amount of people that message me all the time. The amount of people. They found themselves falling into some serious sins, right? And they didn't smell it. They didn't smell it coming, guys. Right? Not knowing how the shaitan operates was the cause of them now falling into some of these great major sins which ended up ruining their lives. Right? Look how the shaitan whispers, especially on social media, guys. Especially on social media. Looking at the opposite gender, how easy it has become. Do you guys agree? And how one thing will just lead to another. And at times the shaitan whispers, oh, wallahi, you know, go give her da'wah. Huh? Guide her to Islam. And then you've slipped into her DMs. One thing leads to another. Shaitan was whispering, shaitan was whispering. He got you. And before you know it, she's giving you da'wah. Number 7, my brothers and my sisters, 1-7, right? Al-Kufr. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-kafirin. Right? Disbelief. And a lot of us, my brothers and my sisters, we think that when we talk about kufr is what? To become a Christian, to become a Jew, right? We see kufr as that, right? Let me ask you guys a question. Have you guys heard of feminism? You guys heard of feminism? Sahih? Inshallah ta'ala, the sisters from the masjid, they organized a program next Monday. When Ustad Abdul Fattah messaged me, he goes, oh, they want a lecture. What do you think the topic should be? I said, straight away, feminism. Because feminism is a disease. Many of the elders, they don't know how much of a disease this is. They're completely oblivious about it. Right? This feminist who has adopted all of these sentiments, right? That may well take her out the fold of Islam. Even though she's wearing a hijab. وَإِن صَلَّتْ وَإِن صَامَتْ. And even if she comes to the masjid to pray Taraweeh. Or she comes and she fasts. Right? But some of the statements that come out of her mouth, my brothers and my sisters, causes her to flirt with kufr. Inshallah ta'ala, I'll be discussing it next Monday. But the point of the matter is, my brothers and my sisters, right? Feminism, aspects of liberalism, secularism, faslu ad-din an ad-dawla, right? I'm actually now putting together, have you guys heard of the 10 nullifiers? Seen that treaties going around, 10 acts that take you out the fold of Islam. It was written at a certain time, the Shaykh, right, saw acts that would take you out the fold of Islam, which the people took very, very lightly. So he wanted now to alert them. So he authored this treaty of 10 things that take you out the fold of Islam. Right? And these 10 things that the Shaykh authored in his time are not limited to 10. So in the last couple of weeks, I started putting together 10 nullifiers that will take you out the fold of Islam that are contemporary. One of the things that I've written down is feminism. Some sentiments are very dangerous. I'll give you guys a very quick example, right? Feminism in a nutshell, or one of its main sentiments, or one of the arkan, should I say, not just sentiments, but one of the pillars. You know, you have Usool thalatha. They have aslani aziman. They've got 2 main pillars that it stands on. One of them is equal rights. That you look through the lens of equal rights. So this is what she's been convinced with. That everything has to be what? Equal. She's in university, mashallah, wearing a hijab. She runs into some of these sisters who tell her that everything should be looked at through the lens of equal rights. And then she comes across certain verses in the Quran, maybe verses of inheritance, where the ratio is 2-to-1. When the father passes away and leaves behind a son and a daughter, this is unjust. Can you guys see what she just done? The law of Allah, she's just turned around to the law of Allah and said, this is unjust. Even though Allah said about himself, وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا, Allah does not oppress anyone. And she's still wearing a hijab. Well, I've seen some videos, Speaker's Corner. Girl wearing hijab, she's debating. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. She's only 17 or 18. And the amount of kufr that's coming out of her mouth. But she's still wearing a hijab. The hijab doesn't keep you in Islam, my brothers and my sisters. Right? So there are contemporary acts that we might not necessarily see to be a big deal, but in essence actually it takes you out the fold of Islam. So I'm putting together these 10, inshallah ta'ala, maybe we'll go through it here another time. One of them is also what the Scottish Prime Minister mentioned. According again to the scripture, homosexuality not being a sin. This is a statement, my brothers and my sisters, that can take you out the fold of Islam. When Allah made it clear and explicit in the Quran, this guy comes along and he what? Says it's not a sin. Completely does negation, juhud of what Allah mentioned in the Quran. وَمَا يَجْحَدُ بِآيَاتِنَا إِلَّا الْكَافِرُونَ. None negates our verses except those who are kafirun, Allah tells us. Also saying that the Jews, the Christians and Muslims, they're all right. Isn't this becoming common, my brothers and sisters? I think in English they call it preliminary. Is that what they call it? Or the Abrahamic Accord. One time I even recently heard one of these very well-known American shuyukh coming out saying that God has many voices. God has many voices. He's standing in front of Buddha. And he's talking about Christianity, and he's talking about Judaism, and he's talking about Islam, and how all of them at times people from these three religions may want to have a monopoly over the truth. I'm just now paraphrasing here, guys. Right? Allah musta'an. To say the Abrahamic Accord and that all of them, are part of the Abrahamic faith. Inna ad-deena 'inda Allahi al-Islam. There's only one religion Allah is going to accept. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Anyone who desires other than the religion of Allah, the religion of Islam, it will not be accepted from him. Number 8, my brothers and my sisters, al-fusuq, transgression, violating against the limits of Allah. Fusuq, wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-fasiqin. Allah does not guide the fasiqin. Some of you guys are probably thinking to yourselves, well, I'm someone that's transgressed. I'm someone who doesn't at times fulfill the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. My brothers and my sisters, we are all human beings. We are all going to make mistakes. We are all at times going to maybe follow our desires. Right? I don't want people to walk away thinking, khalas, I'm on my way to Jahannam because of all of these different points that we've just mentioned. No, my brothers and my sisters, we are going to make mistakes. We are going to fall short. We are going to be negligent. However, there's something called what? At-tawbah, where we return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does that make sense? Kullu bani Adam khata. Every son of Adam is not just someone who makes a mistake, he constantly makes mistakes. وَخَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِنَ التَّوَّابُونَ. The best of those who make mistakes are those who constantly keep going back to Allah Azza wa Jal. And perhaps that may save us when we fall into these sins. However, if we don't, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned, al-ma'siyatu baridul kufr. The sin that we fall into is the first spark to disbelief. You don't become a disbeliever by committing zina or by backbiting. These are sins, major sins. But when we don't make tawbah from it, one thing will lead to another. It is the first spark to eventually shooting out of the religion. Are you brothers and sisters with me? The first spark. Right? It's scary when we sin and we don't repent from it and we just let it slide like that. And even then, my brothers and my sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so fair and just. How many sins do we fall into that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overlooks? He doesn't hold us to account for it. Agreed? Even Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi says, إِنَّ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ خَطَايَا لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. There are indeed sins between you and that no one knows about except Allah. Sahih. That sometimes we just forget to make tawbah from. Also Allah says, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُم وَيَعْفُو عَن كَثِيرٍ. Allah Azza wa Jal forgives so much that He doesn't hold us to account for. Right? So it's important that we rush to making tawbah. Right? Out of fear of what might happen if we just let this slide, my brothers and my sisters. Number 9, my brothers and my sisters, al-kadhib. Al-kadhib. Lying. Inna Allah la yahdi man huwa musrifun kadhab. Allah Azza wa Jalla does not guide the transgressing individual who's a compulsive liar. Right? Again, it's something that we might take very, very lightly. It's big in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing leads to another. One lie that you thought you got away with. Another lie, my brothers and my sisters, up until, right, you see yourselves carrying out the worst and the worst of sins, my brothers and my sisters. And it all started off with that innocent lie. Agreed? Number 10, al-khiyana. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. Right? Treachery. Cheating. Stabbing people in the back. Being deceitful. Right? Now it makes a lot of sense, right? What the Shaykh was saying. You have أذكى الأذكياء, from the most smartest of people, most intelligent, intellectuals, my brothers and my sisters, even then they struggle to understand the most basic of concepts. Now this Scottish guy, right? Scottish guy. You ask yourself the question, wallahi, you think about it at times, is he saying whatever he's saying because he genuinely believes it? Or is it maybe because he just wants to get into power? And he's going to fall into kufr, into disbelief, right, on his way to becoming the guy in charge. Makes you wonder. At times you think to yourself, maybe he genuinely actually means it. And you say, how? This guy's meant to be an intellectual, he's meant to be smart. Perhaps maybe because of some of these points that we mentioned, my brothers and my sisters. Right? By the way, I don't do specific takfir. I don't do specific takfir. He said, إِلَّا أَقَلَّ الْقَلِيلِ, because that which we are talking about in this book, these 6 foundations, my brothers and my sisters, many have misunderstood it, or many have fallen into these violations, right? Except a few. What does that show us, my brothers and my sisters? If the whole world now becomes misguided, are we just going to go and follow the crowd? Right? We are moving into a time and era, my brothers and my sisters, where normative Islam is dying out. Would you guys disagree with this? If you've got Muslims today in a masjid singing the national anthem, not seeing anything wrong with it, is that surprising? When we see tomorrow, on a wider scale, apostasies left, right and center. Right? And anyone who objects or contests that, he's looked at the weird person, or the guy who's maybe lost it, or the guy who's extreme. Abadan. Well, when I was going to America, I thought maybe 40, 50 people are going to attend the gatherings. A lot of us here in the UK, whenever we think America, we think everyone there is finished. We are all wrong, guys. I even one time said in the podcast, can you really blame us when we have, or should I say, when we see some of the leading figures coming out on Twitter? One of them one time came out and started supporting the first hijabi playboy girl. Right? Openly supporting her. We're looking at it thinking, if their leaders are like that, what do you expect from everyone else? Wallahi, subhanAllah, you guys have seen, right, how many people were attending, which to my amazement, I realized a lot of them are just sick and tired of hearing bunny rabbits and rainbows. They're tired of it. They just want to be told how are they going to come out of this spiritual emptiness that they're suffering from. Right? There's filth and evil now that has been, right, instilled within the religion to be normal Islam. Allah tells us in the Quran, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ. If you follow the majority of the people on the earth, they will lead you astray. So don't ever, my brothers and my sisters, use numbers as a justification for the truth. If everyone now starts saying that there's absolutely nothing wrong with LGBTQ, right, are we just going to jump on that tide as well? No. It was in this masjid, Jazakumullah khair, where they let me give the khutbah about it approximately a year ago. You know why I did that khutbah, guys? Because it was reaching a point where, right, it's the Christians, Catholics, who are the only ones now that are what? Pushing this concept of it being a problem. And we Muslims, my brothers and my sisters, are falling victim, terrified, to quote what Allah said in the Quran. On that note, my brothers and my sisters, I'm going to give you a 4-minute break. It's 6 past, 10 past, let's come back. Just quickly stand up, do star jumps, get the blood running through your body again, inshallah ta'ala. 4 minutes. I know maybe a lot of you guys are going to go. We've got another hour left and we're going to try, inshallah ta'ala, run through these 6 foundations, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. You know, back in 2014, I made a promise which went out on YouTube. And I think I received over 100 emails and 100 messages. When is it going to be ready? What was the promise that I made? The promise that I made was that I would put together a series of questions to ask a potential spouse when vetting. Something that, you know, we tend to worry about, right? What do I ask her? How do I ask her? How do I know she's the right one? Recently, our brother Taha, and like I said, my brothers, wallah, I don't get paid for this. When you guys see me sometimes helping out some of these thobe guys, like Afia, he's now going to cut this out and he's going to put it on his Instagram. He's here, by the way. All these other brothers, wallah, I don't get paid. I just do it to help out their businesses. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's very, very common. I'm actually taking a pack and giving it to my little brother. It's called Zawaj cards. Zawaj cards. Zawaj means, what does Zawaj mean? Marriage cards. Right? Or that which you ask a potential spouse when wanting to marry her, or when looking into her, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? The brother is going to be outside. I think he has a store. Something to maybe look into. I honestly believe it's going to be a game changer. Right? So I said this back in 2015 and I never found time for it. I never ever found time for it. Alhamdulillah wa kafallahu al-mu'minin al-qital. He relieved me of it. So inshallah ta'ala, when you get a chance, do look into it, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الأصل الأول إخلاص الدين لله تعالى وحده لا شريك له وبيان ضده الذي هو الشرك بالله وكون أكثر القرآن في بيان هذا الأصل من وجوه شتى بكلام يفهمه أبلد العامة. ثم لما صار على أكثر الأمة ما صار أظهر لهم الشيطان الإخلاص في صورة تنقص الصالحين والتقصير في حقوقهم وأظهر لهم الشرك بالله في صورة محبة الصالحين وأتباعهم. The first foundation, my brothers and my sisters, is al-ikhlas, sincerity. To be sincere in actions for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. He has no partners. Also, you find that the Quran gives a very thorough explanation of the opposite of al-ikhlas, the opposite of sincerity, which is to commit acts of shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most of the Quran from various angles is an explanation of this principle, the Shaykh says. It has been explained so clearly that even the most unintelligent of the common people can understand. He then says, despite all of this, when the situation of most of the ummah changed to what it is today, Shaitan deceived the people by making sincerity appear to mean diminishing the status and the rights of the righteous people, and he made shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal to appear to mean loving the righteous people and their lovers and their followers. In a nutshell, my brothers and my sisters, first foundation is at-tawheed, and the opposite of that is ash-shirk. The most precious thing to every single one of us, my brothers and my sisters, is what? At-tawheed, having our monotheism. Right? Holding on to your faith. And the opposite of that, my brothers and my sisters, is what? Ash-shirku billahi azza wa jal, which is the most greatest sin that one can fall into. One time I tried to draw a comparison. Some of you guys may have seen this video going around. Huh? You guys know what I'm talking about? Where I tried to talk about a man impregnating his mother and whatever have you, and how this is a major sin. Look how you guys reacted. Look. You guys said, Astaghfirullah. Huh? Astaghfirullah. It's a big thing. It's a huge thing. To be what? Carrying out this sin with your mother. It's despicable, it's abhorrent, it's filthy. The reason why I try to draw this comparison is that look how the people react when it comes to this major sin. And then you have what? Ash-shirku billahi azza wa jal. Let's just say you're here and now you start invoking righteous people who are buried in Pakistan. Oh, so and so help me. Right? Oh, so and so uplift my difficulties from me. Can you see anybody reacting the same way they reacted the first time around? And that is because, my brothers and my sisters, this aspect of what shirk is and what causes your tawheed to diminish has all but become a non-issue. Right? Earlier I told you guys about that lady, sah, who uttered statements of kufr, who said, I'm not fasting today because I'm angry with Allah. Do you guys remember when I mentioned that? I'm angry with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why I'm not fasting. It affects your tawheed, my brothers and my sisters. How many a time do I hear somebody saying, why always me? Why is always Allah making me go through this? It's an aspect that is going to affect your tawheed. You guys heard of zodiac signs? Huh? Yes. Zodiac sign extremely widespread where? On Snapchat. We get very intrigued. Star sign. Zodiac signs. They're going to put 2 and 2 together and tell me who I'm going to get married to. Right? Going to a kahin. Did you know, my brothers and my sisters, the Messenger ﷺ told us about going to a fortune teller. من أتى كاهنا أو عرافا فسأله عن شيء أو فصدقه بما يقول فقد كفر بما أنزل على محمد. And then you believe what the fortune teller says, then this person has disbelieved in what Allah Azza wa Jalla sent down upon His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Matters that are going to what? Affect and cause your tawheed to diminish. Right? But we find it intriguing, we don't see a big deal with it. I remember when I was growing up, secondary school in Leicester, year 11. I still remember where I was sitting in the room. We was in the IT room. They started talking about zodiac signs. I was like, what's my zodiac sign? Because they were talking about, who you're going to marry and what's going to happen. And then if you put this and you get this and you get that, and you put all that stuff. But the shaitan is at work. As the world now becomes a lot more advanced in its technologies, right? Shaitan looks for different ways to beautify actions. Sahih? Put your hand up. When growing up, you used to swear on your mother's life, or on your dead nan's grave. Sahih? Did you know, my brothers and my sisters, this actually affects your tawheed big time? Not because I said this. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Man halafa bighayri Allah faqad ashrak." Whoever swears by other than Allah Azza wa Jalla, then this person has committed a shirk. At-tawheed, my brothers and my sisters, and I hope everyone writes this down, هو إفراد الله بما يختص به. It is to single out Allah Azza wa Jalla in that which is exclusive to Him. It is to single out Allah Azza wa Jalla in that which is exclusive to Him. Ash-shirk, what it means, my brothers and my sisters, is مساواة غير الله بالله فيما هو حق الله. Right? مساواة غير الله بالله فيما هو حق الله. Which basically means to attribute to other than Allah Azza wa Jalla that which is only exclusive to Him. There are things that are exclusive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He who can hear everything, He who can see everything. Would you believe, my brothers and sisters, when I went to Yemen, this is before I went to Damaj, I was told that when the Pir Sab, or when the big sheikh of the institute travels to Indonesia, he can still see what you're doing in the institute. So I would be on my best behavior because I didn't want him to find out. Right? I would be on my best behavior because I thought that he was watching me. We should only do this with who? Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So he says here, ثم لما صار على أكثر الأمة ما صار أظهر لهم الشيطان الإخلاص في صورة تنقص الصالحين. So what the shaitan beautified for mankind was, if you are sincere in your worship, if you only go directly to Allah Azza wa Jal, then what you're doing here is you're belittling the righteous. You are convinced that you have to go through righteous people in order to go to Allah Azza wa Jal. This kind of doctrine sounds very familiar. What does it sound like? No, religions. Christians. Right? You got to go through Jesus. Sahih? I remember many years ago there was a debate about istighatha, as to whether you should go directly to Allah or you should seek help and aid and assistance and ask the messengers to remove your difficulties and hardships. And there was someone, subhanAllah, in this viral video that commented, goes, what these guys are arguing for, meaning that you have to do istighatha of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the same thing as the Christians. And that the screenshot went absolutely viral of this Christian saying this. Right? You might not necessarily see this very common here in London, my brothers and my sisters. And we've done a poll, right, where we interviewed the students who were studying with us on the Knowledge College, which topic or which subject they actually prefer more. Those in London, they said they prefer to study fiqh. Others who are more up north, you know, when you go up Leicester, where I'm from, and you go more north, Derby, Stoke, Manchester, and Bradford or Bradistan, and these areas over there, Scotland, some of these shirky practices are a lot more common. So over there they begin to appreciate aspects of tawheed a lot more. Not that I'm trying to have a go at anyone here, right? Because they come from these kind of backgrounds, when they learn about aspects of tawheed, it really, you know, a shirk, my brothers and my sisters, split into two categories: major shirk and minor shirk. Major shirk and minor shirk. When you take an act of worship and you divert it to other than Allah, this is major shirk. Does that make sense? Minor shirk, some of the ulama, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, they defined it as كل ذنب سماه الله تعالى شركا ولم يبلغ درجة الشرك الأكبر. This is minor shirk. So any sin that Allah Azza wa Jal may have referred to in the Sharia or the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as shirk, but it doesn't actually reach the level of major shirk, this would be minor shirk. I'll give you guys one of the examples of minor shirk. Hadith Mahmud ibn Labid, narrated by Ibn Majah. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أخوف ما أخاف عليكم الشرك الأصغر. That which I fear the most for you. Who is he speaking to? When the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, that which I fear the most for you guys, is the following: shirk asghar, minor shirk. Who is he speaking to? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali and the rest of the companions. So they asked, Ya Rasulullah, wa ma shirk al-asghar? What is minor shirk? He said, al-riya, to show off. And to show off on the football pitch, not making him in and out. Is that what we're speaking about? No. Or when shooting hoops, we're speaking about showing off in your ibadah. You're praying inside of your room, and then Hoya walks in. Mom walks in, right? And then you start perfecting it even more. Because I want Hoya to see how beautifully I'm praying. When you think about it, are you solely praying to Allah? Are you solely praying to, or are you actually now giving a share of that to your parents or to your mother? Can you see from which angle now, right, this becomes an association with other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Right? Which shirk is, right? To associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To single out Allah Azza wa Jalla in that which is exclusive to Him, you should only be intending Allah with that prayer, nobody else. Not Hoya, not your dad, and anyone else. And that's with any act of worship. Likewise when you're giving charity. And you have, my brothers and my sisters, the level of sins in this way: major shirk, minor shirk, and then what? Major sins. Can you see how everyone reacted when I talked about that haram? Zina, homosexuality. If you find out now that your neighbor is practicing this, how are you going to react? It's a big thing, right? That's a major sin though. Above that you have a sin called minor shirk. And then above that you have that which is called major shirk. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Know the seriousness of these sins. Sometimes you see people commenting on Instagram. I've seen it more than once. Oh, it's only minor shirk, man. What do you mean it's only minor shirk? This sin of minor shirk is greater than major sins. Does that make sense? الأصل الثاني, the second foundation. أمر الله بالاجتماع في الدين ونهى عن التفرق فيه فبين الله هذا بيانا شافيا تفهمه العوام ونهانا أن نكون كالذين تفرقوا واختلفوا قبلنا فهلكوا وذكر أنه أمر المسلمين بالاجتماع في الدين ونهاهم عن التفرق فيه ويزيده وضوحا ما وردت به السنة من العجب العجاب في ذلك. ثم صار الأمر إلى أن الافتراق في أصول الدين وفروعه هو العلم والفقه في الدين وصار الأمر بالاجتماع في الدين لا يقول إلا زنديق أو مجنون. The second foundation, my brothers and my sisters, is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be united upon the religion and the prohibition of division and discord regarding it. Allah Azza wa Jalla has explained this in a very clear manner that even the common people are able to understand. He forbade us from resembling the people who differed and became divided before us, which led them to being destroyed because they split amongst themselves. He mentioned that He also ordered the messengers with being united in the religion and forbade them from division and discord due to it. This matter is made clearer by what is found in the Sunnah. Then from the most strange affairs is that differing in the core principles of the religion as well as its subsidiary branches appeared as knowledge and understanding of the religion. As for unity in religion, it became such that nobody spoke about it except a heretic or a mad person. In a nutshell, my brothers and my sisters, the second foundation speaks about how we need to work towards unity. And we need to stay away from division, splitting the ranks of the Muslims. And then he mentions how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so clear and explicit in the Quran. And how He prohibited us from dividing amongst ourselves. And how this led to those who came before us to be destroyed. And it says also in the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is pretty clear. And then he says from the most strangest of affairs that you find in his time and likewise today as well, that splitting on the issues of our Usool, meaning the foundations of our religions, right? And likewise in its subsidiary matters is actually knowledge. And this is fiqh. And then you have coming together, uniting, is only mentioned by those who are heretics. I think there's two extremes here, my brothers and my sisters. AK Thobes, mashallah. That's another Thobe seller. Huh? Are you brothers and sisters with me? I always give you a shout out, yeah. There's two extremes here, my brothers and my sisters. The first extreme is dividing on the matters of the usool. The core principles of our religion is not something that is praiseworthy. Our aqeedah, my brothers and my sisters, is clear and transparent. Right? This door that has been opened of, akhi, let everyone have their own aqeedah. Don't be the reason why people start differing with one another, right? Bury it, let's put all of that to the side and just unite. How is that possible, my brothers and my sisters? If someone now is calling to the Sunnah and is calling to establishing a Tawheed, how can he now unite with someone who's doing the complete opposite? Understand this with me, my brothers and my sisters. This is very, very important. Because what's going to happen is truth is going to be mixed with falsehood. Right? You have someone now who's calling to the Sunnah. And then you have someone the complete opposite, which is innovation. How can both of these things be brought together? Or someone now, he has beliefs that are shirky. Right? And then someone who's saying laylan wa naharan, day and night, tawheed, tawheed, tawheed. How can these two oxymorons come together? Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? Our aqeedah is clear. It is transparent. If we don't stand up for the aqeedah, my brothers and my sisters, you will see normative Islam being tampered with, right? Whatever is falsehood will now become that which is widely accepted. And you're telling people, don't say anything about it. This is what will become the religion of the people. Does that make sense? I'll give you guys an example now about what that Scottish guy mentioned, right? I keep mentioning him, I know. He said that homosexuality is not a sin. If I remain quiet, what's going to happen? Isn't this a matter that is from the beliefs of the Muslim, that what Allah Azza wa Jal instructed Lut with and what Lut waged a war against, Prophet Lut alayhi salatu wasalam, what we believe to be a sin, someone comes along and says, no, it's not a sin. But you say, akhi, put the issues of aqeedah to the side because our main goal is just to unite as an ummah. How can that be possible? Can you see how normative Islam, the religion of Islam, will become very, very tainted? Are you brothers and sisters with me? And that's likewise with other aspects of our aqidah. However, I must say something else. I'm going to hold on to my aqidah, and you're going to hold on to whatever you believe, right? I'm going to try and call you to that which is correct. However, at times there needs to be a level of unity, right? There has to be a level of unity because of a bigger problem that we're trying to deal with. If we both now have a common enemy here in this country, and we need to be united to some degree in order to eliminate this evil force, I'm still holding on to my aqidah, right? And I'm still going to try and call you to that which is correct. However, I have to be mature, right? And smart in how we're going to get rid of this external force that may well be the reason why the beliefs of our children are destroyed. What do I mean by that? It might well be that different masajid have to come together because signatures are required in order to eliminate some external evil that is destroying us as a community. I'm not going to compromise when it comes to my aqidah. Does that make sense? So this is one aspect that needs to be discussed. The second, my brothers and my sisters, is وَصَارَ الْأَمْرُ بِالْاجْتِمَاعِ فِي الدِّينِ لَا يَقُولُ إِلَى الزِّنْدِيقُ مَجْنُونَ. This is very, very important as well now. He says, it reached a point where telling people to unite is only something that is mentioned by a heretic or someone that we look at as some guy who's off. This is exactly what you hear today. The moment you tell people, come, let's try and work together, right? Let's now try to establish unity. And then you start that process of doing so, you get labeled to be an ikhwani. Or some individual who's completely off. Akhi, the religion told us that. Even Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi says, من القواعد العظيمة التي هي من جماع الدين. Right? تأليف القلوب واجتماع الكلمة وصلاح ذات البين. He says from the important principles of our religion, right? That is comprehensive. تأليف القلوب, bringing the hearts together. اجتماع الكلمة, right? Trying to come together in that which we preach, and also rectifying that which is between the Muslims, right? Like I said, the aqeedah is very, very important. But who from amongst us is really trying his utmost best now to try and rectify the problems that are there, right? It doesn't even have to be on a bigger scale with some of us. Sometimes you see a discord between two family relatives, right? You see a discord between two friends, right? To try and now resolve these issues between them. You have the non-Muslims coming together on whatever it might be to wage war against the Muslims. We, maybe even individuals who are upon the same aqeedah, can't come together. Right? This is a very, very important core issue of our religion, which is to come together, or at least be actively working towards it. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? What seems to have happened is, okay, I'm now following a particular aqeedah, forget about everyone else. Let them go to Jahannam, even though we might not say this with our tongues, we don't care. Just starting off this process of how can we actually bring people together by way of rectification is something that is unheard of. So he is saying, the moment someone starts speaking about ijtima' al-kalima or uniting the people, he's looked at some guy who's lost the plot. Someone who's a zindiq, someone who's what? A heretic, and that's ghalat. Also, when you think about it, my brothers and my sisters, maqasid al-sharia, the objectives of the sharia that Imam al-Shatibi rahmatullahi alayhi mentions, the religion came to protect how many things? Huh? He said 5. Some scholars say 6, but he's right. What are these 5 things? Huh? The religion came to protect your religion. Right? It came to protect your deen. What's the second thing? Huh? I'm gonna come on to that. Also, the religion, my brothers and my sisters, came to protect your nafs. It came to protect your life. If something is going to put your life at risk, the Sharia, the legislation, the deen doesn't tell you, oh, just allow it. You're allowed to at times consume haram to protect your life, right? Are you allowed to eat pork at times? Yes, you can. You're going to die in the middle of a desert. Are you allowed to drink alcohol? Are you allowed to drink pork? Not till alosha buhisit, till you become full. No. That which is going to, inshallah ta'ala, fill the void that is required in order for you to continue living. Does that make sense? So the Sharia came to protect that. Also the Sharia, my brothers and my sisters, came to protect your intellect. If something is going to cause you to lose your intellect, the Sharia doesn't say go and do it. It protects you. Likewise, وَحِفْظُ الْعِرْضِ, it also came to protect your honor and lineage. Some scholars, what they add it on the here. Your honor, your lineage. Right? I'll tell you guys what's very, very common. Saying that girl sleeps around. Do you know how serious that is? We growing up in school was a term that we used very, very loosely. Oh, look at that girl. Whenever a girl is mentioned, oh, she's this. Every S word under the sun, we use it for her, صح? So loosely. What did Allah Azza wa Jalla say? وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَأْتُوا بِأَرْبَعَةِ شُهَدَاءَ فَاجْلِدُوهُمْ 80 جَلْدَةً. Either you bring forth 4 witnesses, each one of them testifying that they saw this haram taking place. Otherwise, all of you guys are going to get lashed. How many lashes? 80 lashes. Just for accusing this woman for having committed a zina. Just for accusing this woman of having committed a zina. Right? What are you doing here? You are ruining her reputation. You are dismantling her honor. Sahih? But the Sharia came to protect that. That's why you have this had min hududillah. You have this capital punishment of all of these guys being lashed and whipped just to protect her honor. And the last one is hifdul mal, to safeguard the wealth. Let me ask you guys a question. If there is no unity, Muslims can't get on. Everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone's at war with one another. And now you have this miskeen lady whose honor has just been ripped to shreds. Will we be able to get justice for this innocent lady? Can you see why unity is so important? The Muslims at least having a system where the rights of the people can be protected, their wealth can be protected. Someone's just been robbed. But 2 tribes are at war with one another. No one wants to do anything about it. As opposed to if they were united and at least on talking terms. Sahih? So unity is extremely, extremely important, my brothers and my sisters. The maqasid, the objectives of the Sharia, right? You guys are right, huh? Huh? You're right. You need help, huh? Okay, someone's laughing. Was him? Huh? It sounds like he was squeaking or something like. Huh? Inshallah. You're going to get a break in a minute, inshallah ta'ala, and then we're going to finish off before Maghrib. Number 3, my brothers and my sisters, الأصل الثالث أن من تمام الاجتماع السمع والطاعة لمن تأمر علينا ولو كان عبدا حبشيا. فبين النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هذا بيانا شائعا دائعا أو ذائع إيش؟ بيانا شائعا شائعا. What's the word that you guys have? Does anyone have another print other than this one? Okay, طيب. I thought I made a mistake. فبين الله سبحانه وتعالى هذا بيانا شائعا ذائعا بكل وجه من أنواع البيان شرعا وقدرا ثم صار هذا الأصل لا يعرف عند أكثر من يدعي العلم فكيف العمل به. It says for the third foundation is from the perfection and completion of unity is hearing and obeying the one who has authority over us, even if he is an Abyssinian slave. He's talking about now the one that is in charge, the leader, right? Even if it is an Abyssinian slave, you should listen and you should obey. Allah explained this in a very clear, manifest and sufficient manner, using various means, both religious as well as universal. Meaning there are enough texts that indicate this. Likewise, you have this happening and unfolding right before your eyes, which shows this important concept. Despite this principle became unknown amongst the people who claim knowledge. So how could it be applied and practiced? What we're talking about here, my brothers and my sisters, someone being in charge. And we're not just talking about a Muslim ruler who's in charge of his government and in charge of his citizens, right? We are also speaking about, and I'm going to bring this in because it's normally not mentioned, the household. This is a lot more relevant to what is happening around us today. Someone being in charge, again, whole feminism stuff, right? If you don't have someone in charge, my brothers and my sisters, in just about every capacity of life, there will be chaos. Would you guys agree with that? If there's no one in charge at your workplace, how is the place going to be run? There will be what? Chaos. Likewise, in the Muslim household, if there is no one in charge, or let's just say we have two bosses in the house. The Arabs, they say, أنا الأمير وأنت الأمير إذن من يقود الحمير. I'm the boss and you're the boss. Okay, who's going to drive the camel? Or who's going to drive the donkey? One has to drive it, right? Sahih? They've got this method, meaning we can't have Ronaldo and Messi in the same room. Right? We can't have two big bosses in the same room. There has to be one and then everyone else comes under him. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? So the sister now that wants to wear the trousers in the house wants to be actively carrying out the role of the husband. And then you have Allah Azza wa Jal created this man naturally as a man. There's going to be what? A clash, a conflict of ideas, a conflict of how we're going to move forward is just not going to work. There has to be what? One leader, one person in charge, right? So now let's speak about what the Shaykh is referring to here, my brothers and my sisters. But before I do that, I wanted to read out something that Simone de Beauvoir mentioned. Have you guys heard of Simone de Beauvoir? She's one of the founding mothers of feminism, a French feminist. Then you also have the likes of Betty Friedan, right? Who's one of the founding mothers of feminism over there in America. There was even an interview that I came across where Betty Friedan was interviewing the French feminist. I'll discuss that next Monday, inshallah ta'ala, with your sisters. Ala kulli hal, Simone de Beauvoir mentioned in her book, The Second Sex, chapter 1. This is what she said about women. This is what she's saying about women. No, Abu Taymiyyah. You think, guys, these girls are going to come out on feminists on Twitter, huh? On Twitter. Me and the feminists having a great time on Twitter together. Her grasp of the world is thus more limited. This is what she's saying about women. She has less firmness and perseverance in projects that she is also less able to carry out. This means that her individual life is not as rich as a man's one. In a nutshell, what she's basically saying is that women are intrinsically more emotionally unstable and weak-willed than men, which is very odd, considering that she famously wrote, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." Right? Which basically means that she supports the idea of behavior being entirely the result of social construction. Ash-shahid min al-kalam, my brothers and my sisters. I know I'm getting a little bit philosophical there, huh? you can't have two leaders in the same place. Right? In the household, the man, he serves as the leader. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him, to be competitive. Right? And then the woman, my brothers and my sisters, she's there. She has a role to play in society as well. Their roles are complementary, right, to one another. Or they complement one another. They are not in competition with one another. That doesn't mean he doesn't, right? That doesn't mean he doesn't give that which she has to say, right? No concern. No, he takes what she says into consideration. But if there isn't someone who makes that final call, there is going to be fawda. Allah Azza wa Jal gave him that qiwamah. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. Then going back to what we have here, or what the Shaykh here is speaking about, if you have a ruler in place, somebody in charge, my brothers and my sisters, right? And you begin to revolt against him, or you try to topple him over, or you try to get rid of him, there not being anyone in charge is only going to lead to destruction. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us in a hadith, right? What was the hadith again? Naam. Wait guys, I'm going to get the hadith. Huh? نعم. سيكون عليكم أمراء لا يقتدون بهدي ولا يستنون بسنتي. There will indeed be leaders, rulers that will take charge. They won't take my guidance as a guidance, and they don't take my sunnah as a sunnah. Right? قلوبهم كقلوب الشياطين في جثمان الإنس. Their hearts will be like the hearts of Iblis, but it's inside the body of a human being. Right? We were told that some of the leaders that will gain charge, my brothers and my sisters, they are going to be oppressive. They are going to be tyrannical, right? They're going to be unjust. However, even with them being unjust, my brothers and my sisters, we were told not to cause a revolution, not to try to topple them over. This is the position of the majority of the scholars, and some do naql of al-ijma' on this. Otherwise, there will be chaos and the people become separated, the rights of the people will be violated, and there will be what? Chaos. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Right? Take a look at what happened to our countries, my brothers and my sisters. Take a look at that which happened to our countries. I was in Yemen once upon a time, and I'll speak for them. Before the revolution and after the revolution, here we learn a very, very important principle. It's a legal maxim. The religion is built around weighing the pros and the cons. Right? الدين مبني على المصالح في جلبها والدرء للقبائح. Then he goes on to say وضده تزاحم المفاسد يرتكب الأدنى من المفاسد. If we have a predicament where there are two evils, right? We have two evils, my brothers and my sisters. And we have to take one of them. Which one do we take, guys? The lesser of the two evils, right? This is our religion. We take the lesser of the two evils. We don't do something that is going to lead to a bigger evil. Yes, the ruler was oppressive. Yes, the ruler was unjust. They say even when he passed away, Abdullah Saleh, there was alcohol in his private room. He used to drink apparently. Right? Having said all of that, my brothers, I was there before the revolution and I was there after as well. If you ask just about every Yemeni now, would you prefer that Yemen was how it was before or now? They will say we would prefer when that tyrannical ruler was still in charge. Right? And that is because disapproving of an evil which they wanted to do, they wanted to get rid of him. And once we get rid of him, we will live a better life. Well, that's what they thought. It only got worse and worse. Can you see, my brothers and my sisters, how learning your religion is extremely important? Once upon a time, right, parents would take their children to Yemen for them to go and study. It's very unsafe now. The place is in turmoil. It's upside down. Does that make sense? Right? Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi said, "Sittuna sanatan." Right? 60 years min imamin ja'ir aslahu min laylatin wahidatin bila sultan. 60 years with a tyrannical, unjust, oppressive ruler is better than one night without no ruler. 60 years to have an unjust ruler is better than one night without a ruler. Okay. I know you guys are probably thinking this is very irrelevant to my life, my brothers, my sisters. The lesson that I want you guys to take away here is, you don't disapprove of an evil if it's going to lead to that which is worse. And that is something that you would have to take into consideration in so many aspects of your life. Wallahi, it was heartbreaking when I was leaving Yemen to see how the place was. Up until this very day, they're complaining. 2014 it was, brothers and sisters. Between 2012 and 14 and up until this very day, there are innocent people that are now suffering from that which some or a portion of the sha'b, of the people, they carried out. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? And this is a very, very important legal maxim. Right. Here the Shaykh, he mentioned, you will find enough evidences, and likewise that which is universal. Meaning, it's not just what Allah told us. That is an evidence here. He says, even look around. Right? Ibn Taymiyyah says something very, very powerful. He says, وَلَعَلَّهُ لَا يَكَادُ يُعْرَفُ طَائِفَةٌ خَرَجَتْ عَلَى ذِي سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا وَكَانَ فِي خُرُوجِهَا مِنَ الْفَسَادِ أَعْظَمْ مِنَ الْفَسَادِ الَّذِي أَزَالَتْهُ. Across history, you will never find a people that revolted against their ruler, right, to remove the evil that he came with, except that it led to that which is worse. Right? Except that it led to that which is worse. Am I saying, my brothers and my sisters, that there aren't any cases where he's thrown off or he's taken out? Of course there are. There are cases. For example, kufr. And there are other conditions. You've got to weigh the pros and the cons. Shaykh ibn Uthaymin rahmatullahi alayhi mentions 5 conditions. And last but not least, under this principle, my brothers and my sisters, I want to point out some very, very important things that you guys will see online being discussed and debated. The people of the Sunnah, they distinguish between obeying the ruler, which is one thing, and another which is praising and loving him. Praising a tyrannical ruler, my brothers and my sisters, or tweeting him, right? Or making him look better than what he actually is not something that is allowed in our deen. Listening and obeying is one thing. It's another now to start praising him. Oh, he's this and he's that. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَلَا تُجَادِلْ عَنِ الَّذِينَ يَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَهُم. Right? Do not defend those who go out to oppress themselves. They wrong themselves all the time. Don't argue for them. Also, my brothers and my sisters, right? There is a difference between saying don't revolt against the ruler and also what? Again, praising him, showing love and support for him. There's a big difference between the two. Does that make sense? You hear people saying, and I'm going to talk about two extremes here. You hear people saying that the moment you say don't revolt against the ruler, then you are a bootlicker. Or someone now who just loves the rulers. No, my brothers and my sisters. The reason why someone may say don't revolt against a Muslim ruler, simply because you will see the turmoil that we are seeing today, which happened in so many countries in the Arab world. Right? On the other hand, my brothers and my sisters, you will hear people labeling others as Kharijites when it comes to criticizing the rulers. Right? I have 5 scenarios written down with regards to how the ruler is criticized. If someone now points out that ruler did X, Y, and Z and this is wrong, and he mentions him by name, is this something now that renders this individual to be a Kharijite? No, it's not, my brothers and my sisters. Is it better to advise him privately without a shadow of a doubt? Now to say that that individual is a Kharijite, this is a big, big statement, and that is because now you've thrown him out the fold of the Sunnah, you've called him an innovator. And he has ahkam mutarattiba ala dhalik. 2 extremes. The moment you say don't revolt, you get called a bootlicker. Or the moment someone points out, oh, that ruler shouldn't have done anything, or he should have done it like that, or what he's now doing is actually wrong, or Halloween that he's now imposed, this is something that is wrong, even if you mention him by name. Our Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad has 8 articles. 8 articles where he was directly calling out the ruler. What he's doing is wrong. That doesn't make you a Kharijite. And I see this loosely being thrown around. And this is another extreme. Right? One of the Mashayikh I heard him mention, you find in the books of Aqeedah speaking about not revolting, but you don't see the issue of criticizing the rulers being mentioned. Right? So this is an issue that goes back to what? Weighing the pros and the cons. Even this argument that I hear, oh, if you criticize the ruler openly, then this is now going to cause people now to start revolting around him and whatever have you. Billah alayka akhi, if I start criticizing Prince Charles, yani, is everyone going to stand up and start revolting against him? يعني الضحك على عقلاء المسلمين. Right? الشاهد من الكلام, my brothers and my sisters, we have to be very, very careful with the words that we use, these labels that we throw around, and the insults that we hear all the time. And it happens on both sides of the spectrum. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الأصل الرابع بيان العلم والعلماء والفقه والفقهاء وبيان من تشبه بهم وليس منهم. وقد بين الله تعالى هذا الأصل في أول سورة البقرة من قوله تعالى يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوف بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون، إلى قوله قبل ذكر إبراهيم عليه الصلاة والسلام يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين. The 4th foundation, my brothers and my sisters, a clarification of knowledge and the people of knowledge, and fiqh and the people of fiqh. Also a clarification of those who resemble them but are not actually from them. Allah has explained this principle in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah from His saying, O children of Israel, remember my favor which I have bestowed upon you, and I have fulfilled my covenant upon you, that I will fulfill your covenant from me and be afraid of me only. They are saying before the mention of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, O children of Israel, remember my favor that I have bestowed upon you, and that I preferred you over the worlds. Before I explain this, my good friend right here who came all the way from East London, right, he mentioned something very, very important that I forgot to mention. He says it requires one good person to remain silent in order for corruption to spread. And this comes, of course, under the principle of al-amru bil-ma'rufi wa-nahyu 'anil munkar, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. If the haqq is not clarified, and we've said this time and time again, whether it is a ruler that's spreading it or not, if now garbage is being spread and no one is saying anything, there's no clarification, it's only a matter of time before this is justified and people begin to embrace it wholeheartedly. That's why we were talking about the issues of, at times, clarifying some of the violations, even if a ruler is doing it. Right? There's a difference between al-inkaru al-alani wa tashhiru bihi. Tashhir means to humiliate him. We're not talking about that. We're talking about showing opposition to clarify to the people, even if the name was mentioned. This is what an issue that goes back to al-ijtihad. This 4th foundation, my brothers and my sisters, here the Shaykh speaks about al-ilm wal-ulama, clarifying what al-ilm and also who the ulama are. And likewise al-fiqh, what fiqh is and who the jurists are, right? And also clarifying those who try to resemble them or try to imitate them, but in reality, they are not scholars and they are not jurists. And then he quoted 2 verses from the Quran, where Allah Azza wa Jal calls out Bani Israel, calling them out, telling them to remember the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon them. What were the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon Bani Israel that is in conjunction with this? Who can tell me? What did Allah Azza wa Jal send upon them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my brothers and my sisters, He gave them the scripture, and He also sent them prophets, people of knowledge, to guide them out of the darkness into the light. Right? Allah is telling them, we gave you all of these favors, and even then you went astray. Even then you went astray. How did they go astray? Right? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, my brothers and my sisters, he told us, إِنَّ أَخْوَفَ مَا أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ أَلَئِمَّةُ الْمُضِلُّونَ. That which I fear the most for you, again, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is speaking to his companions, which also we have to take inspiration from. Don't think it was only for them. No, it's for everyone else that comes after us all, my brothers and my sisters. That which I fear the most for you is أَلَئِمَّةُ الْمُضِلُّونَ. Misguided leaders, misguided scholars, those who may try to behave or conduct themselves as if they are scholars or people of knowledge, and in reality they're not. And there's a lot of them on TikTok, guys. It is so easy today to give da'wah. Just open an account, say a little bit of ya'ni, right? Drop a couple of Arabic words and everyone thinks you're Shaykhul Islam, right? You're the mufti of TikTok, right? And this is not spoken about enough. This is why, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to mention some of the characteristics and traits of people of knowledge that we need to look out for. It's a common question that people tend to ask all the time. But before I do that, another hadith that I want to quote, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, سَيَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ سَنَوَاتٌ خَدَّاعَاتٌ. There will indeed come upon you years that are treacherous. يُصَدَّقُ فِيهَا الْكَاذِبُ. A liar is believed. وَيُكَذَّبُ فِيهَا الصَّادِقُ. And the truthful one is rejected. He's seen as the liar. وَيُؤْتَمَنُ فِيهَا الْخَائِنُ. The kha'in, the treacherous, deceitful individual is trusted. وَيُخَوَّنُ فِيهَا الْمُؤْتَمَنُ. And the one who's trusted, my brothers and my sisters, he's seen as someone who's treacherous. وَيَنْطِقُ الرُّوَيْبَضَةِ. And the ruwaybada starts speaking. قِيلَ وَمَا الرُّوَيْبَضَةِ. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked, who is this ruwaybada? قَالَ الرَّجُلُ التَّافِهِ. A very lowly person. يَتَكَلَّمُ فِي أَمْرِ الْعَامَّةِ. You see him speaking about the general affairs of the Muslims. Isn't this exactly what we have today, brothers and sisters? Any random individual speaking about matters. If Umar ibn Khattab was alive, he would gather the participants of Badr and seek their consultation. But any Dom, Dick and Harry is coming out and just saying whatever he wishes about the deen of Allah. And then you got the Gen Z generation on TikTok, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. We listen and we obey. Right? You don't know where he's taking you. This is the problem of this era, brothers and sisters. Commenting on just about everything. Just the other day, subhanAllah, me and the Sheikh, called Sheikh Abu Bakr Zod from Australia, we were discussing some aspects of social media. How it is such a great fitna to feel the need to just what? Convey. Or just to put out content, and this is a disease. I just have to put out content for the sake of it. I have to remain relevant. I have such a big platform, I just have to give out information. People are waiting for me, so he just gives them anything. Just to keep them in touch with his videos and engaged. هذه مصيبة. It's a calamity. We always talk about the virtues of giving da'wah, right? how so many people are gonna act upon it and then you're gonna get the reward. Spreading falsehood, spreading that which is wrong, is also as bad, my brothers and my sisters. Right? Everyone that follows you up on that misguidance or that video that is going to be on your scale of bad deeds. And once you go into that grave, those sins are going to continue. It's a big mas'uliyah, a big responsibility. We shouldn't only think twice but thrice the moment we put out the video. So here are some of the characteristics of my brothers and my sisters. Number one, هو داعية إلى التوحيد, someone who calls to التوحيد. Someone who calls to التوحيد. Wasn't this the occupation of the prophets? وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Every single prophet that was sent, the core message that he came with was what? Worship Allah and stay away from shirk, stay away from the taghut. At-tawheed needs to be the core of his da'wah. And then they also address the social issues. Does that make sense? That's a very distinctful, important trait that the caller to Allah Azza needs to have. At the end of the day, my brothers and my sisters, we are speaking on behalf of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to follow his blueprint. I can't just do things how I want. Right? Number two, my brothers and my sisters, this person has to be a person of khashya. Someone who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the knowledge that he has. It's not just lip service, my brothers and my sisters. If the ilm that you're learning is not causing you to become better, to act upon your knowledge, there is a big issue with taking knowledge from this kind of individual. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, كان الرجل إذا أراد أن يأخذ عن الرجل. Back in the day, if they wanted to take knowledge from someone, نظر في صلاته وفي حاله وفي سمته ثم يأخذ عنه. He would look at his prayer, he would look at his situation, he would look at how he carries himself, how he conducts himself. Then he would take the knowledge from him. Is he someone that is acting upon his knowledge? Or is he someone that is just giving out information? Right? There's a verse in the Quran where Allah Azza wa Jalla said, أَمَّنْ هُوَ قَانِتٌ آنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ. Right? What's the verse? أَمَّنْ هُوَ قَانِتٌ آنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ ساجدا وقائما يحذر الآخرة ويرجو رحمة ربه قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about qiyamul layl, standing up in the night. And right after that he speaks about the people of knowledge. The scholars, they connected here these two matters, that a person of knowledge or someone cannot be an alim unless he's praying in the night. That's the least someone who gives da'wah or a student of knowledge should be doing. You're not like everyone else, right? You're not like everyone else. You need to be doing more in private than that which you do in public. Does that make sense? Number three, my brothers and my sisters, تلقي العلم عن الراسخين. You take knowledge from those who are firmly grounded, those who have spent time studying. Not someone, my brothers and my sisters, who took a course or two on social media and now he comes out and starts giving fatwa on TikTok. Right? Or someone who just went out to read from books. Imam Shafi'i would say, من تفقه من بطون الكتب ضيع الأحكام. Someone who just sits with books and takes in information, this individual, my brothers and my sisters, right, he will forsake the ahkam, the rulings of the deen. It's very, very important that this individual has been spending a lot of time seeking knowledge, right? Otherwise, he might end up giving you something that he has understood simply because he hasn't sat at the feet of scholars. Imam al-Awza'i rahmatullahi alayhi said, كان هذا العلم شيئا شريفا. This ilm was something that was very honorable. He said this knowledge was very, very honorable. And he's saying this in his time, who is from amongst the tabi'een. إذ كان من أفواه الرجال يتلاقونه ويتذاكرونه. Because they used to take it directly from the mouths of scholars and men. They would go to them, they would sit by their feet, and they would take that knowledge directly from them. فَلَمَّا صَارَ فِي الْكُتُبِ ذَهَبَ نُورُهُ وَصَارَ إِلَى غَيْرِ أَهْلِهِ. When the ilm was documented into kutub, right, into books, right, the light of knowledge disappeared, it diminished, and just this knowledge was being read by random individuals and then being preached. Now put that into perspective, my brothers and my sisters. He said this then. What do we have today, guys? Sheikh Google, صح? As soon as I need an answer, I just quickly put it into Google. Or I ask any random individual and then he comes and gives it to me. Brothers, wallahi al-azim, fear Allah Azza wa Jal. You go on to these lives on TikTok from random individuals, right? Who all might be giving out a hadith here and there. Great. But that doesn't mean that you should start asking them questions about the deen. Well, I was told the other day, subhanAllah, a brother started giving da'wah in universities and he's giving fatwa about talaq. It is issues pertaining to divorce. Now because he's got a platform and whatever have you, he's answering questions about talaq. And then when he was told, don't do it, his response was, no, I've learned it, I know the answer. We have a sheikh in Al-Madinah, his beard is thick and white, guys. Old in age, blind. You ask him about it, he goes, no, go to the courts, don't ask me, go to the courts. The moment you ask him about talaq, go to the courts and ask them, not me. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal, brothers and sisters. Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi says, ما أكثر ما ينقل الناس المذاهب الباطلة عن العلماء بالأفهام القاصرة. He goes, how common is it that one quotes different views from the madhahib and he quotes the ulama but with an understanding that is flawed. Or he says, oh, that sheikh, he said X, Y and Z. And in reality he didn't. The reason why this individual is quoting him in this manner is because of him misunderstanding what the sheikh has mentioned. Because of a little bit that he's learned, some Arabic that he's picked up, thinking, khalas, I've understood what he's saying. Right? Even there's a line of poetry where the poet says, وَكَمْ مِنْ عَيْبٍ قَوْلًا صَحِيحًا آفَتُهُ مِنَ الْفَهْمِ السَّقِيمِ. How common is it that someone criticizes something that is right, and the reason why he's criticizing that which is right is due to his bad understanding. Or maybe because he doesn't have a holistic understanding of that which is being mentioned. How many traces is that? How many traces is that? 4 or 3? We've taken 3, we're on number 4 now. Number 4, my brothers and my sisters, أن لا يكون من أصحاب تتبع الرخص ومن المتساهلين في فتاويهم وتعليمهم. That he's not someone, my brothers and my sisters, who's like very easy going, oh, halal, halal, halal. Don't worry, it's fine. The great scholars of the past, they used to warn against these kind of individuals. And they used to alert the people not to take knowledge from them. Ibn Muflih, he said, يَحْرُمُ تَسَاهُلُ الْمُفْتِي. Right? It is haram for a mufti to be so easy going, oh, don't worry, it's fine. Halal. Go ahead, no problem. The deen's easy. Yes, the deen is easy. Right? But no, where you start giving people the rukhsa. Yes, there are maybe scholars, my brothers and my sisters, who said something that was completely out of touch. 99% he was right, but there was maybe, abshir ya shaykh, abshir. 99% in that which he said was correct. But then he had this fatwa that is shadh, a fatwa that is very rare, strange. 600 years ago, the sheikh gave this fatwa. But you're living today and you say, oh, but that sheikh said this. Akhi, he's got 99% right. One thing that he got wrong, now you want to act upon it, or you want to tell people that it's okay for them to do? Right? This is now following what? Ar-rukhas. Following the permissions. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم ملك يوم الدين
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ألم تكن آياتي تتلي عليكم فكنتم بها تكذبون قالوا ربنا غلبت علينا شقاوتنا وكنا قوما ضالين ربنا أخرجنا منها فإن عدنا فإنا ظالمون قال اخسئوا فيها ولا تكلمون إنه كان فريق من عبادي يقولون ربنا آمنا فاغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين فاتخذتموهم سخريا حتى أنسوكم ذكري وكنتم منهم تضحكون إني جزيتهم اليوم بما صبروا إنهم هم الفائزون قل كم لبثتم في الأرض عدد سنين قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم فاسأل العادين قل إن لبثتم إلا قليلا لو أنكم كنتم تعلمون أفحسبتم أنما خلقناكم عبثا وأنكم إلينا لا ترجعون فتعالى الله الملك الحق لا إله إلا هو رب العرش الكريم ومن يدع مع الله إلها آخر برهان له به فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون وقل رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم ملك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحي لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين بعثه الله شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. Before I move on to the next trait and quality of who we should be taking knowledge from, can someone give me the first four that we just took? What were the first four that we just took? What was the first one? MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair. The brother mentioned someone who's known to be calling to Tawheed. This was the message of the prophets, right? That should be the core of his da'wah. Alongside, of course, also addressing the social issues. Number two. Sorry? Someone who acts upon his knowledge. Khashya. Right? Someone who acts upon his knowledge. Number three. Okay, that was maybe, that comes on the second one. Yeah? No. Someone who's firmly grounded. Number three is someone who's firmly grounded. Right? Not someone you just saw popping up on TikTok, brothers. Number four. Naam. Someone who's not just known to just give easy answers for the people. Does that make sense? Number five. I haven't taken it yet. طيب. By the way, all of these qualities, I took it from the ulama. Right? Number five, my brothers and my sisters, أن يكون له باع طويل في تلقي العلم والاجتهاد في تحصيله. This individual is known to have studied extensively. This person is known to have studied extensively. Don't get it confused with the other one that we mentioned, which was, I believe, number three. Someone who's firmly grounded it was. This one is someone who is known to have studied extensively. Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi quoted some of the people in his time. He said, قال بعض الناس ما يفسد الدنيا, that which destroys the dunya is the following. He says, نصف متكلم ونصف متفقه ونصف متطبب ونصف نحوي. He goes, half of all of these four individuals that he mentions, but they are half there. They're not full there or fully there, they're half there. The first one, my brothers and my sisters, right, is نصف متكلم, someone who's half learned. He said, هذا يفسد الأديان. This person is going to destroy people's religion. He's only half there, right? He's only half there. The second type, or the second individual that he says will destroy the dunya is نصف متفقه. Someone who's half of a jurist. This person will destroy the country. Like he might say, oh, this is how it should be done. He ends up destroying that which ends up taking place. وَنِصْفُ مُتَطَبِّب, someone who's a half doctor. You know, when we was in Medina, I remember something. They would tell us, all of the guys who work in the dentist, they bought their certificates, right? Allahu A'lam where they got that from. So the students would be terrified to go to the dentist out of fear that their tooth would be ruined. Allahu A'lam, that was just a rumor. I'm just telling you guys, you know. I think everyone gets the sketch here, right? He's half a doctor. He's half learned when it comes to knowing the medical side of things, right? What he ends up doing to people's bodies. Let me ask you guys a question. If someone now identifies as a doctor, or he forges his certificate and then starts working and then he ends up killing someone, is he held liable? Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من تطبب ولم يكن بالطب معروفا فأصاب نفسا أو دونها فهو ضامن. Whoever acts like a doctor, but he's not qualified, and then he ends up killing someone, or he ends up injuring someone, this person is held liable. Likewise, my brothers and my sisters, and by the way, I like qawaid al-fiqhiyya, that's why I bring these things in from time to time. What if someone is not learned, and then when he goes for Umrah or Hajj, he tells someone that you need to pay them. You done something wrong, so you have to pay the penalty. And then he ends up paying £100. Later on, if he comes back and says, oh, this guy gave me the answer, which was wrong, is he held liable? He is held liable. Right? هذا جزاء من تكلم بغير علم. Very common. You're in the haram, people will come up to you, did I do it wrong? Do I need to pay a penalty? Just random. Just because I have a bitch, she's coming up to me. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know where I studied. Very common. And they're going up to random individuals. You see them walking around the haram, just people going up to everyone and anyone. And then sometimes you hear a guy, one time I overheard the guy saying, yeah, you got to pay them. I told him, ittaqillah ya akhi. Because you have to pay a penalty. Over something that she done out of forgetfulness, like she used soap. And he's telling you, got to pay £100, go pay over there. But no one's going to hold him liable, right? Because he's going. He's a random individual. Nobody knows where he's going. Nobody knows where he's from. Miskina, she's paid £100. Number 6, my brothers and my sisters, أن يتلقى العلم ممن يقدر العلماء ويحترمهم. To take knowledge, my brothers and my sisters, from those who appreciate the ulama and respect them. They honor the ulama and they respect them. This one's very, very important, brothers and sisters. Someone might have knowledge, but he's someone who's got a problem with his tongue. Always ripping into others or belittling others or trying to tear them down. Look what Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned. It's a Shafi'i masjid, right? من أحب أن يفتح الله عليه أو أن يفتح الله على قلبه ويرزقه الحكمة فعليه بالخلوة أو أن يرزقه الحكمة لأنه معطوف على أن. طيب ويرزقه الحكمة فعليه بالخلوة وقلة الأكل وترك مخالطة السفهاء وبعض أهل العلم الذين ليس معهم إنصاف ولا أدب. He says, whoever wants Allah Azza wa Jal to open up his heart and to grant him wisdom, upon him is to have times when he has private time or seclusion with Allah Jalla fi ula. You know, when you're alone just with you and Allah Azza wa Jal. And he eats less. وقلة الأكل, not filling up your stomach till you miss Fajr. Right? وَتَرْكِ مُخَالَطَةِ السُّفَهَاءِ, and to stay away or to abstain from hanging around with foolish people. وَبَعْضِ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ, and he says some people of knowledge. الَّذِينَ لَيْسَ مَعْهُمْ إِنصَافٌ وَلَا أَدَبٌ, those people of knowledge who don't have fairness and they don't have etiquettes. They're badly mannered. Why is that, my brothers and my sisters? If someone is always ripping into others, he has a very loose tongue, it's only a matter of time before that begins to rub off of you. أليس كذلك? Isn't that so? من جالس جانس. Right? Whoever sits with a certain type of people, it's only a matter of time before he picks up their traits and their qualities. أليس كذلك? This is very well known. It could be a drug dealer that you hang around with. Right? It could be a woman that's always on social media displaying, you're going to end up doing it. It could be someone who uses a type of rhetoric. It's only a matter of time before it begins to rub off of you. Right? This is why Imam Shafi'i is saying even some people with knowledge, because of how he behaves and how he conducts himself, or what he says about other scholars and other students of knowledge, it's going to end up affecting you. Ibn Asakir, he says about his own sheikh, أن شيخه أبا عامر العبدري كان يسيء الأدب مع علماء السلف كالنخعي ومالك وابن عدي. He had a teacher, and this teacher was very badly mannered. When speaking about Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, who's a mountain of knowledge, and also Imam Malik, and also Ibn Adi. One time, Ibn Asakir says that he became furious with him. فغضب عليه ذات مرة وقال إلى كم نتحمل منك سوء الأدب. Up until when will we continue hearing this bad manners from you? Right? Up until when should we, right, continue taking this from you? تقول في النخع كذا ومالك كذا وفي فلان كذا. You say this about Imam Malik, you say this about Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, you say this about that guy. إنما نحترمك ما احترمت الأئمة فإذا أطلقت القول فيهم فما نحترمك. We will only respect and honor you as long as you respect the scholars. And the moment you stop respecting them, we will not respect you. Right? He had enough. Constantly hearing him ripping into others. Right? Wallahi, brothers and sisters, you guys, I can see, Allahumma barik, you packed out the masjid today. You have the zeal to study. Sometimes you will go to certain lessons around London. Half of the lesson is about what? Oh, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is that, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is that. Bila burhanin wala hujja. No evidence whatsoever. Looking to tear people down, hasadan wa baghya. Out of envy, right? And oppression, violation. Scaring the living daylight out of you. Also, Ibn Rajab rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, وَمِنْ عَلَامَاتِ الْعِلْمِ النَّافِعِ, from the signs of beneficial knowledge, أَنَّ صَاحِبَهُ لَا يَدَّعِ الْعِلْمِ, that the one who possesses knowledge, he doesn't claim to have knowledge. وَلَا يَفْخَرُ بِعَلَى أَحَدٍ, he doesn't boast about the knowledge that he possesses. وَلَا يُنْسِبُ غَيْرَهُ إِلَى الْجَهْلِ, and he doesn't start saying, oh, this guy is ignorant, he doesn't know, he doesn't start behaving like that. إلا من خالف السنة فإنه يتكلم فيه غضبا لله لا غضبا لنفسه. Except if someone now is going against the deen, he clarifies to the people, أخي, this is wrong, he shouldn't be saying this, this goes against the Quran and the Sunnah. He does this for Allah's sake, not right to feed his ego and his whims and his desire, or maybe because he's envious about that individual, he's looking to tear him down or to make him look bad in the eyes of others. And then he says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ عِلْمُهُ غَيْرُ نَافِعٍ, as for the person who doesn't have beneficial knowledge, فَلَيْسَ لَهُ شُغْلٌ سِوَى التَّكَبُّرِ بِعِلْمِ عَلَى النَّاسِ, this person is just too occupied, and that which he busies himself with nothing other than belittling others and calling them ignorant. وَإِظْهَارُ فَضْلِ عِلْمِهِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَنِسْبَتُهُمْ إِلَى الْجَهَلِ, and constantly showing people, look, I got knowledge, I got more than him, and so is not that, he's like this, and no. As for today, my brothers and my sisters, تجد المتعالم, right? Someone who acts like a person of knowledge, belittling others who are mountains. He says, نحن الرجال وهم الرجال. We are men and they are men. Who is he talking about? The four great Imams. Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmed. Just as they can have a view, this is my view. This is my view. Man anti akhi. This is how he's speaking about these great mountains. Yes. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi did say, right? Hum rijalun wa nahnu rijal. They are men and we are men as well. So we can have our positions against their positions. But who was he speaking about? He was speaking about those in his time. And he has every right to say that. But today you find a guy who's living in today's day and age, wallahi, the bad manners that he adorns himself with when discussing or when speaking about the early scholars, as if they have no knowledge and he has all of the knowledge. Al-Asl al-Khamis. We are done, brothers and sisters. This one and then the number 6 literally takes moments. Al-Asl al-Khamis, the 5th foundation, بيان الله سبحانه لأولياء الله وتفريقه بينهم وبين المتشبهين به من أعداء الله والمنافقين والفجار. It says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear and explicit in the Quran who the awliya are, who the close beloved servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are. He made that very clear in his Quran. Does that make sense? And Allah Azza wa Jal has made it also very clear those who try to resemble them, and in reality they are not awliya, they are hypocrites, he says, and also enemies of Allah, wal fujar, and transgressing wicked individuals. Right? He's teaching us now how to distinguish between who a real wali, a saint, a beloved servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and someone who tries to act like them. And then he says, وَيَكْفِي فِي هَذَا آيَةٌ فِي آلِ عِمْرَانِ. That which is sufficient here, my brothers and my sisters, is the statement of Allah in Surah Al Imran. Which verse are we speaking about? When Allah Azza wa Jal said, and by the way, Al-Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi referred to this verse as Ayatul Mihna, the verse of examination. Ayatul Mihna, the verse of examination. You might want to call it the acid test. That's what we say, right? Where you are put to the test. Ayatul Mihna. What was this verse? قُلْ say to Imam Muhammad, إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي. If you really love Allah, then follow me. And if you follow me, Allah Azza wa Jal will love you. يحببكم Allah. Right. Imam Hassan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi commented on this and he said, زعموا أنهم يحبون الله ورسوله فابتلاهم الله بهذه الآية. Some people claimed that they love Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger, so He tested them with this verse. My brothers and my sisters, I can sit all day holding a banner. I love the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Does that really mean anything if I don't act upon it? Or if I'm doing that which goes against what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with? You know the shahada, the part where we say وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. What does it mean? 3 components, and I'm hoping you guys write it down. تَصْدِيقُهُ فِيمَا أَخْبَرَ, to believe in what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with. تصديقه فيما أخبر وطاعته فيما أمر واجتناب ما نهى عنه وزجر. And to be obedient in that which Allah commanded you with. That's number 2. Number 3, واجتناب ما نهى عنه وزجر. And to stay away from the things that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned against or prohibited and criticized. This is what وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ means. Someone may claim, my brothers, I love the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just yesterday, one of the brothers that jumped in with me, we began to discuss about, he says, wallahi, there's sometimes when you sit with someone, right, you begin to feel this, this nur, right? And that he is someone that is very high in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal. I said to him, there are 2 extremes to this. I've heard this so many times. That you begin to feel all of a sudden that he hasn't even opened his mouth yet, that he's upon the haqq. And whatever he's going to call you to, then this is the truth. There's 2 extremes to this, my brothers and my sisters. Yes, there are times when you sit with certain individuals, it reminds you of Allah. It reminds you of death. And may Allah Azza wa Jal make us like them. Right? And there's a type of individual, my brothers and my sisters, right, who you might feel good around. He has a good vibe. Sometimes even drug dealers have good vibes, brothers and sisters. Walakin, the reality kicks in the moment he starts preaching what he believes. It doesn't matter how much nur you think he has on his face, right? Or what great wali you think he is, or how many people have praised him. La. You have to check what he is upon. I really like the statement. Yunus ibn Abd al-A'la one time came to Imam al-Shafi'i. He said, I said to Shafi'i, Inna sahibana al-Layth ibn Sa'ad, who was the great mufti of Egypt, the scholar of Egypt. He's telling Imam al-Shafi'i, Yunus ibn Abd al-A'la, that Layth said, إذا رأيتم الرجل يمشي على الماء فلا تغتروا به حتى تعرضوا أمره على الكتاب والسنة. Let me ask you guys a question. If you see somebody walking on water, if you see someone walking on water, what do you think? And he's got a beard and he's got an imamah. He's walking on water, what do you think? This guy must be a wali, right? He must be a saint. He must be a righteous individual. Hey, tomorrow the Dajjal is going to come. You know how people say all the time, Akhi, don't judge him. They're committing haram openly. Akhi, don't judge him, leave him alone. You don't know what's in his heart. Wallahi, I really fear when the Dajjal comes, people are going to say that. Don't judge him, even though he's got kafir, right? Don't judge him, Akhi. You don't know what's in his heart. He's going to walk on water. He's going to bring people to life. Akhi, mashallah. Imam Shafi'i is saying, Al-Layth ibn Sa'ad is saying, if you see somebody walking on water, don't become deceived by him until you check his actions as to whether it's in line with the Quran and Sunnah. Imam Shafi'i then commented and he said, no, wait here. We have to add something. Layth forgot something. What did he forget?
بل إذا رأيتم الرجل يمشي على الماء ويطير في الهواء. Not only if you see him walking on water, but also if you see him flying in the sky. Don't become deceived by it. فلا تغتروا به حتى تعرضوا, right, أمره على الكتاب, up until you put his actions against the Quran, meaning is it in line with it, is it not? No matter how much he says I love Allah and I love his messenger, you might, but are you now someone that we should just take whatever you're saying unrestrictedly, unconditionally? La wallah. And that's with anyone. The job of the sheikh, the job of the student of knowledge is not to tell you, oh, I think this, or I want this, or I feel like this. No. What did Allah say? Right? What did Allah say? What did the Messenger ﷺ say? And then he might even quote to you the statements and the views of the great scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Ahmad, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik. How they understood it, because their understanding is better than yours. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? And then he quotes another verse. Have we gone over 10 minutes? Huh? It's not been half an hour. Why are you exaggerating for? Huh? Guys, just bear with me. We're really nearly done. The second verse that he mentions is to substantiate this foundation here. وَآيَةٌ فِي الْمَائِدَةِ وَهِيَ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. To show you who the real scholars are and the awliya of Allah Azza wa Jal, the saints, the beloved servants. When Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, O you believe, مَنْ يَرْتَدَّ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَهُ. O you who believe, right? Allah says, whoever now leaves the religion, apostates, مَنْ يَرْتَدَّ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ, Allah will bring people that He loves and they love Him. فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَهُ أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون في الله لومة لائم. Is it في الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم? Without, that's the other ayah. ولا يخافون, and actually it's the other hadith, it's hadith في الله لومة لائم ولا يخافون لومة لائم. 4 traits are mentioned here. 4 traits of these awliya. What was the first trait? أذلة على المؤمنين. They are gentle towards the believers. They treat them with kindness. أعزة على الكافرين. The second trait that is mentioned in this verse is that they are what? Stern towards the disbelievers. Channel 4, huh? What does this mean, my brothers and my sisters? Right? I have my views, you have your views. Right? I am not going to compromise my religion. I'm going to hold on to my values and my morals. You're not going to push me around. I'm going to be firm. Does that make sense? Stern towards disbelievers, right? And gentle towards the believers. If you are now flipping it, my brothers and my sisters, you have Taymiyyah. You water down your religion with the non-Muslims, right? And you're showing them so much love, but then the Muslims, you're treating them harshly. There's something really wrong here. There was a time, subhanAllah, many years ago, a tweet went viral, right? There was this very well-known guy who started praising David Cameron. He is very well known to be very harsh towards the Muslims. He would always call them innovator. He would say that they're misguided and they're this and they're that. But then because David Cameron, he greeted the Muslims on Eid, he came, we just want to thank and this and that. And the tweet went viral. Non-hijabis were commenting saying, Akhi, you treat the Muslims so badly, but then the non-Muslims, you're like that. Right? Mushkila hadi. Of course, I have to be nice to the non-Muslims in order to bring them closer to the deen. Does that make sense? If you're walking around with a dirty look, who's going to accept anything from you? And that's with anyone and anything. You have to be nice. You have to be kind. Right? There are 2 characteristics. The third characteristic, يُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. They fight or they do jihad in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. Again, I have to put out the disclaimer. It's unfortunate that we have to do this. I am an unapologetic Muslim. Is jihad from our religion? Without a shadow of a doubt. However, there are rules and regulations, and I'm not recruiting anyone to go abroad. Does that make sense? But it's part of our religion. It's mentioned in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla instructed it, and the Prophet ﷺ did it with rules and regulations. Does that make sense? وَوَقَائِمٌ إِلَى قِيَامِ السَّاعَةِ. Number 4, وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. And they don't fear the blame of the blamers. They're not people that just water down the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal so they can be in the good books of the monarchy, or the prime minister. They can keep a wonderful relationship so he changes the religion. La, they say that which is right. They stand up for normative Islam. Right? وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, to the end of the verses. Does that make sense? 4 traits that were mentioned. And then there's a third verse here, my brothers and my sisters, to conclude this part, where Allah Azza wa Jal mentions some of the traits of the awliya, who they really are. أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Indeed, the awliya of Allah, you don't need to be fearful for them, you don't need to be sad for them. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Those who come with iman, and they also come with a taqwa. With taqwa, my brothers and my sisters, is, as Ibn Rajab mentioned, هُوَ يَجْعَلَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ مَا يَخَافُ وِقَايَةً تَقِيهُ مِنْهُ. It is to place a shield between yourself and that which you fear. What do we fear? The anger of Allah. What is this shield? To do what Allah told you to do and to stay away from what Allah told you to stay away from. Someone who abides by the law of Allah Azza wa Jal. He's not someone who just says and then his actions completely go against what he preaches, my brothers and my sisters. And then he goes on to say, this then changed with most of the people who claim to have knowledge, claiming that they are the ones who guide the creation and are the protectors of the Sharia. That they consider the awliya to be those who abandon following the sunnah, and whomsoever follows it is not from the awliya. This is ghalat. To think that whoever doesn't follow the sunnah then he's good, hadi musibah. One has to abandon jihad, and whoever fights a jihad then he's not from the awliya. Also one has to abandon iman and taqwa, and whomsoever maintains them is not from the awliya. All of these are wrong, my brothers and my sisters. O our Lord, we ask you for safety and pardoning. Indeed, you are the one who hears and responds to the supplications. And last but not least, my brothers and my sisters, last but not least, Al-Asl Sadis, the 6th foundation that is mentioned. Okay, Sheikh. I'm sorry, I went over the time. I think you need to. Huh? To midnight. La ya jama'a. Last one, brothers and sisters. You've been very, very patient. May Allah Azza wa Jalla bless every single one of you guys. I thought after the first segment everyone would leave. Wallahi al-Azim, I thought maybe we would get maybe 40, 50 brothers remain. You guys have remained patient. Even the youngest of them, the brother who's sitting on the chair. How old are you? Huh? 13. Anyone younger than 13? MashaAllah, how old are you? Adiga? Huh? 10. MashaAllah, he's 10 years old and he's holding it and he's reading it. How old are you? You're in between. Huh? It's a 10, huh? Oh, we got an 8-year-old. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Huh? Anyone younger? MashaAllah, we've got parents here today and we have as young as 7, 8. I used to teach you, right? Sah? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. They always come with their mum, these 2 young kids. May Allah bless them. What was your name again? Ammar and Taha, right? Yes, ahsan Allahu ilayk. Number 6, my brothers and my sisters, رد الشبهة التي وضع الشيطان في ترك القرآن والسنة. Debunking and rebuking this doubt that the shaitan has placed so that the people abandon the Quran and the Sunnah. واتباع الآراء والأهواء المتفرقة المختلفة. And instead, the people would follow many differing opinions and desires. My brothers and my sisters, what is our constitution? The Quran and the Sunnah, what else? Upon whose understanding? My understanding? My dad's understanding? My sheikh's understanding? No. The 3 golden generations. Who are they? Sahaba, التابعين وأتباع التابعين. It's their understanding that we need. Not Abu Taymiyyah's understanding, or not my sheikh or your sheikh, or my dad or your dad. La. It is their understanding. As I mentioned time and time again, the sheikh, the ustad, the talib ilm, he is just there to connect you to what Allah said and what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said upon the understanding of the three golden generations. That's his job. And this is the objective of Muslims with regards to understanding their deen. And the essence of this doubt is that the Quran and Sunnah can only be known by an absolute mujtahid. وهي أن القرآن والسنة لا يعرفه إلا المجتهد المطلق. So this doubt that is thrown around, my brothers and my sisters, you may hear someone say, Akhi, forget about the Quran and Sunnah for a moment. Yes, of course we believe in it, but you won't understand it. And the only one that can understand the Quran and the Sunnah is what? Someone who has reached a very high status with regards to beneficial knowledge, al-mujtahid, right? Someone who has reached a rutbah of ijtihad. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? What does ijtihad mean? بذل الجهد في الوصول إلى الحكم الشرعي, I believe, أو إلى إدراك الحكم الشرعي. Someone who goes out his way and, exerts his efforts, uses the tools that he has in order to extrapolate the right answer out of a situation that has emerged. Right? And the mujtahid is the one who has certain qualities and characteristics. You will hear people saying that someone with this characteristic and that characteristic, so much so that these kind of characteristics wouldn't even be mentioned about Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Right? So this is what the Shaykh is trying to say. فإن لم يكن الإنسان كذلك فليعرض عنها. And if someone doesn't have all of these big traits, right, then he should turn away from the Quran and the Sunnah. لا شك ولا إشكال فيه فرضا حتما لا شك ولا إشكال فيه ومن طلب الهدى منهما فهو إما زنديق أو مجنون لأجل صعوبتهما. And whoever now goes out to understand the Quran and the Sunnah, he's looked at a heretic. He's looked at as a heretic or someone that's lost the plot. My brothers and my sisters, wallahi, if this door is opened of putting the Quran and the Sunnah to the side, we're already seeing it. Look at liberalism, which is a taghut. Look at liberalism, right? And how the liberals, they conduct themselves. You come to aspects of the religion, akhi, this is not how it should be understood, this is how it should be. However they want, they bring out interpretations simply because the Quran and the Sunnah, my brothers and my sisters, is too difficult to understand. Our religion becomes a joke. Right? Our religion becomes a joke. If we say, put that to the side and let's just follow what people have to say. Akhi, might as well become a liberal, completely what? Rub out aspects of the deen and follow whatever you want. No, but we have a constitution that governs us. And that is this Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, we need to be balanced, my brothers and my sisters. Right? Does that mean we completely disregard the views and the opinions of the great ai like Imam Shafi'i, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and also Imam Ahmad abadan? These great scholars, they went out their way to understand the Quran and the Sunnah, and they made fiqh so easy for us. Sometimes you hear somebody saying, Akhi, I don't want to follow the madahib, I'm going to follow the Quran and the Sunnah. MashaAllah alaik. My response is, were they following the Torah and the Injil, the Gospel and the Bible? For someone to say, oh, I'm going to go and follow the Quran and the Sunnah, as if they weren't following the Quran and the Sunnah. Does that make sense? Got to be balanced here. We don't disregard our ulama, right, who extrapolated the rulings from the Book of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the tools that they had and with the intelligence that Allah blessed them with, which made life so much more easier for us. Right? وَتَجْعَلِ الْمُتُونَ لِلتَّفْقِيهِ وَسِيلَةً لِرُتْبَةِ الْفَقِيهِ. These texts that we study of the madahib, it's a wasila, it's a means to reach a very high level when it comes to fiqh. And then the conclusion, my brothers and my sisters, the Shaykh goes on to say, فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ. May Allah be glorified and by His praise. كَمْ بَيَّنَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ شَرْعًا وَقَدَرًا. How much has Allah Azza wa Jal clarified this both in the Sharia and in the universal law. خَلَفًا وَأَمْرًا. Right? This both in the Sharia and the universal law, and due to the law of the creation as well as His command. في رد هذه الشبهة الملعونة من وجوه شتى بلغت إلى حد الضروريات العامة ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Right? How widespread has this doubt become, he says. This cursed doubt that we should be disconnected from our constitution, which is our book, our Quran, and likewise the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in so many different ways that we hear. Right? And then he says, quoting Allah Azza wa Jal, لَقَدْ حَقَّ الْقَوْلُ عَلَى أَكْثَرِهِمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ أَغْلَالًا فَهِيَ إِلَى الْأَذْقَانِ فَهُمْ مُقْمَحُونَ وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ وَسَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ إِنَّمَا تُنذِرُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الذِّكْرَ وَخَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ فَبَشِّرْهُ بِمَغْفِرَةٍ وَأَجْرٍ كَرِيمٍ. Allah then says, already the word has come into effect upon most of them, so they do not believe. Indeed, we have put shackles on their necks, and they are to their chins, so they are with heads that are kept aloft, and we have put before them a barrier and behind them a barrier and covered them so they do not see. This is after Allah Azza wa Jal sealed their hearts, my brothers and my sisters. These clear aspects of the deen, they struggle to understand. Why, my brothers and my sisters? In the beginning we talked about intellectuals, we talked about individuals who are brainiacs. These things that we talked about, my brothers and my sisters, were they difficult to understand? Were they difficult to understand? I'm asking you guys. They were very, very clear and evident and manifest and transparent. That even the Ammatun Nas, if you explain to them, I haven't gone out my way, my brothers and my sisters, to break down what was already mentioned here. It was very, very simple and clear. Anyone can understand it. But you have the brainiacs, the intellectuals that struggle to understand basic aspects of our deen. Just look at the new Scottish Prime Minister, brothers and sisters, who's coming out with some of these statements, even though it's so clear in the Quran. If you wanted an example, just look no further. Something that is so clear is coming out saying there's not a sin. وَهَلُمَّ جَرَّ, and say the same, my brothers and sisters, with other clear aspects of our religion. That's why I went through these 10 points at the beginning that causes an individual to be led astray. Right? Our deen is very, very clear. As the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, تَرَكْتُكُمْ كَالْبَيْضَاء أو تَرَكْتُهَا كَالْبَيْضَاء. Right? It's been left for you so clearly. The deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. لَيْلُهَا كَنَهَارِهَا لَا يَزِيغُ عَنْهَا إِلَّا هَالِكٌ. Very clear. Right? None goes astray except that he's destroyed, or moves away from that except that he's destroyed. Right? Our religion, my brothers and my sisters, is beautiful. We just need to take it a lot more seriously. And you will find, my brothers and my sisters, that a lot of these troubles and these trials and these tribulations, the fitna of doubts and the fitna of shahawat, will be able to navigate and maneuver around it. And last but not least, my brothers and my sisters, and I always conclude my lessons with this, I just want to take a moment out to thank my teachers who taught me. Right? It's only right that I credit whatever I mentioned today to my teachers who fed me this knowledge. And I'm just, as I mentioned, someone who quotes. I'm not here to tell you what I think. Right? The likes of a Shaykh Salih Sindi, Hafidhullah Ta'ala. Right? Also my Shaykh Abdul Hamid from Yemen, who taught me a lot of that which I have mentioned today. And some of the other shurrah that I benefited from. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, Shaykh Salih, Fawzan. Which I gave whatever I could, my brothers and my sisters. Right? There is a line of poetry where the poet says, إذا أفادك إنسان بفائدة من العلوم فلازم أو فأدمن شكره أبدا وقل فلان جزاه الله صالحة أفادنيها وألق الكبر والحسد. If anyone benefits you with a benefit, could be your classmate, it could be someone who's less than you, or someone who's got more than you, always be thankful. Right? Say so and so, credit it back. He benefited me with this. Right? May Allah reward him with good, and get rid of your arrogance and your ego of having to attribute this now to someone who may have less than you. Right? Also, Imam al-Sa'di rahmatullahi alayhi, right at the beginning of his قواعد الفقهية, says وهذه قواعد نظمتها من كتب أهل العلم قد حصلتها جزاهم المولى عظيم الأجر والعفو مع غفرانه والبر. And ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to protect us from those that are mentioned in this line of poetry. When he said أعلمه الرماية كل يوم فلما اشتد ساعده رماني وكم علمته نظم القوافي فلما قال قافية هجاني. Right? Every day I teach him how to shoot. Right? Archery, he teaches him. And the moment his forearm became strong, the first person that he shot at was his teacher. And then he says, every day I teach him how to put lines of poetry together. And then as soon as he was able to put one line of poetry together, the first person that he dissed was his teacher. You know how you have diss tracks today? Back in the day they had diss poetry, where they would put lines of poetry and they would start dissing one another. Right? May Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us from that. Right? My brothers and my sisters, I love you all for the sake of Allah. I really, really hope whatever we mentioned today was beneficial. And inshallah ta'ala, it was something that we can fall back onto. Right? Honestly, it means a lot to see the masjid packed all the way to the end. Right? The Muslims in Southall, they proved me wrong for my bad assumptions. May Allah bless you all. Right? I honestly thought, like I said, after the first, everyone would leave. And it's Adi, Gen Z, right? Millennials, they struggle to concentrate for long periods, but you guys remained patient. There might be things that you missed out on that I mentioned. Inshallah ta'ala, the recording is available. We're going to get it uploaded onto the channel as well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Right? Also, what I wanted to ask you guys to watch is, because I didn't really get time to mention this, 10 qualities of the awliya, or 10 qualities of how to become beloved to Allah, is on my YouTube channel. Right? If you want to become very close and beloved to Allah, 10 points that Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned, that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala will bring you very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? May Allah bless you with excellence and keep you all steadfast. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal, if He doesn't reunite us in this dunya, to reunite us in the highest part of Al-Jannah. And again, before he switches off the mic, Shaykh Abdul Fattah, stand there. I just want to thank him for always organizing these programs. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless him with good. Right? And inshallah ta'ala, next time, we'll go through these 10 contemporary nawaqid. 10 contemporary, right, nullifiers that are contemporary, that we see happening today, that we might take very lightly, that I try to put together, right, that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala I would love to enlighten every single one of you guys with, bi'idhnillahi al-bari. May Allah bless you all. May Allah honor every single one of you. Subhanak Allah bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu. One last thing, we have some tulab al-ilm who are humbly sitting here. I don't want to mention their name because they might get cancelled. But they came and they benefited. They should have been given the classes. Knowledgeable brothers. One of them was actually my classmate in Al-Medina, and he was sitting here so humbly. May Allah bless him. Right? And the rest of you guys, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله خير منها وهم من فزع يومئذ آمنون. ومن جاء بالسيئة فكبت وجوههم في النار هل تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إنما أمرت أن أعبد رب هذه البلدة الذي حرمها وله كل شيء وأمرت أن أكون من المسلمين وأن أتلو القرآن فمن اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فقل إنما أنا من المنذرين. وقل الحمد لله سيريكم آياته فتعرفونها وما ربك بغافل عما تعملون وإذا وقع القول عليهم أخرجنا لهم دابة من الأرض تكلمهم أن الناس كانوا بآياتنا لا يوقنون ويوم نحشر من كل أمة فوجا ممن يكذب بآياتنا فهم يوزعون حتى إذا جاءوا قال أكذبتم بآياتي ولم تحيطوا بها علما أم ماذا كنتم تعملون ووقع القول عليهم بما ظلموا فهم لا ينطقون ألم يروا أنا جعلنا الليل ليسكنوا فيه والنهار مبصرا إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون ويوم ينفخ في الصور ففزع من في السماوات ومن في الأرض إلا من شاء الله وكل أتوه داخرين وترى الجبال تحسبها جامدة وهي تمر مر السحاب صنع الله الذي أتقن كل شيء إنه خبير بما تفعلون